On the edge of Darkland Moor lies a small town of Peat Bogton, which is well known for its peat farming and other small grave moss industry, in inverted commas. And we find ourselves on the small streets where a large demonic character is walking across the road, and a few small children are running away both in terror and in glee as it carries a tray of hot cookies towards one of its patrons across the road. This character's name is Grimace, and Grimace is a feature of this town, having been here several years, and is well known as the town baker, even though it's a very strange creature that no one knows much about. Grimace is in the middle of the street, and he's walking across, the waft of the warm cookies in it's his nose, and suddenly from out of the sky there's a buzzing sound. Grimace, what do you do?
Grimace would look around to see what the buzzing sound was coming
So you
from.
turn your head up towards the sky, and there's this large shape that suddenly impacts into you. Do a physical check, difficulty 1.
So that's a D2?
D2. Yep.
Okay. Physical check. So it'd be...
You get 1 dice plus the number of bonuses that you have.
Okay. So it'd be a 2, right?
Yeah, so you would roll 2 dice, yes.
Okay. So 2 plus signs. I guess that's a 2.
So you've succeeded. So you manage to roll out of the way in the mud as this giant insectoid creature unfurls itself nearby you, and you hear from its mandibles of its mouth.
Okay,
Aurora.
Oh, all right.
Aurora, you are in your herbalist shop, and you have just finished with a customer, and you are seeing them out of the door when you see this giant insectoid creature land on top of the local baker as she rolls out of the side on the mud of the streets. It's been a light rain recently. It's got that wonderful smell about it that's, is great for picking wild berries out on the moorlands. What do you do?
Do I know what type of insect creature this is? Like, have I ever seen it before?
You, as the type of creature that you are, have some knowledge of the natural realm, and you would know that traditionally there used to be, hundreds of years ago, a race of insectoid creatures in this area.
Were they nice people or not so nice?
You have no
people?
idea.
I don't know. Okay. Aurora will actually run out and over to Grimace to help him back up to his feet because he was knocked over. And as she does that, she sort of tries to, like brush the dirt off of him and say, are you okay? Are you okay?
So the large insectoid creature turns as you're approaching it and takes a step back, but its huge eyes, you can see the multifacets of its eyes. It's actually paying attention on all the other people that are fleeing on the street. And as it's looking at you, it holds up one of its forelimbs, which has almost like a 2 or 3, you can't really tell if it's 2 or 3 prongs on the end, and it starts signing to you.
Okay.
So we move to Doll. A small child and her mother are walking around in the street when suddenly this giant insectoid creature lands beside them. The mother is in hysterics. She grabs a small child and starts dragging her down the road at full pace. And the small child, unfortunately, drops Betsy, her doll, on the ground.
Okay.
Doll, what do you do?
Well, first look at the child and the doll, and pick up the doll and try to give it to the screaming child.
You are the doll.
I am the doll. Well, that's a world of difference. Give get up and look at the insectoid. Does it look like it's going to attack or just communicating?
At the moment, it's just turned its back towards Aurora, who you know as the local herbalist. And obviously, there's the baker who's on the ground, and Aurora is patting off the dirt from Grimace's body.
I think Doll would start clapping its hands, kind of in the same rhythmic pattern that it's clicking.
Okay. Do a social check, difficulty 1.
Okie dokie.
So do you have any bonuses in social?
Nope.
So you roll a single D2.
Yep, and I think that's a 2.
Okay, so you fail that. All right. So some of the townspeople that are running past, screaming, notice the small child's doll has gotten up and starts clapping at them, and the fear of the gods is now within them because their town is being overrun by weird and strange things. So that brings us to Mabon. Mabon, you've just carried a large box of nails that had been ordered by one of your customers, and you had just placed the box down outside their house when you noticed this insectoid creature land and all the shenanigans that's been happening. What do you do?
I would probably see if there's anybody within harm's reach, and if there is, I would probably run and put myself in front of them.
So most of the people are flowing past you away from this insectoid creature. So you kind of like point them down alleyways and that kind of thing to do a little bit of crowd control. Do a social check, difficulty 1. You're muted.
I got a 1.
Okay, so the townspeople are following your instructions. Basically, you take a small leadership role in trying to sort out the chaos for everybody. So don't forget to put, with your success, you mark off that little square.
Yep, got it.
Okay, so that brings us back to the creature that's now standing there, and it's moving away a little bit from Aurora and Grimace, and it's still signing and clicking. So, Grimace, you are on the ground. You're being helped up by Aurora.
Okay. Grimace turns towards the insect creature and says, Raul, Masha, what are you doing? Do you want a cookie? Here you go. You don't have to push me down. You're fine. And Grimace throws a cookie into the creature's mouth.
So the mandibles kind of consume the cookie, but it's still signing at you.
Here, have another. They are free samples after all.
Do a social check, difficulty 1.
That's a negative.
Okay. So we move into Aurora. So Grimace has stood up. It has been patted down.
Aurora will actually sort of walk towards the creature a little bit and stick her hand out and try and shake the hand that it is signing with and say, "Are you new to this town? My name's Aurora."
So while you're walking towards it, you begin to interpret the sign, but it's like an old sign language. So sign language from the many decades that you've been alive. You've been taught it as part of your culture, and you recognize parts of what this creature is signing. So do an education check, difficulty 1.
That would be a no.
No. So you only pick up on some of the words that are actually being signed. The words are, "I come, I hunger, you leave, 5 lights."
I come.
So that brings us to Doll.
I.
Sorry.
Oh, I was just responding. I heard you. Sorry.
So
Okay.
what would you like?
I think Dahl will slowly approach the side and get in front and make sure that it's being seen. The attention is grabbed.
So you want the creature to be able to see you while you're doing your thing. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay. All right. So it's very definitely noticing the fact that, you know, people are moving towards it. You can't really tell whether it's fearful or not. So we're going to do an emotion check, difficulty 1, to determine its emotional state.
Cool. I have a 1.
So you sense that it's not fearful, but it's a bit standoffish with the people that are coming towards it.
Awesome.
All right, Mabon.
Okay, so I see this display. I see it eat the cookie. I see everyone looks very apprehensive, and I can see this weird stance of this bug creature stepping back. I would probably run back to my blacksmith shop and try to grab a hammer.
Okay.
As fast as I can, so like a
You already have a hammer.
Perfect. Then I will just not inch, but I will walk slowly to where the masses are, like around the insect.
Okay. So again, as you're approaching this insect is very aware of everything that's going on around it. You can see that it's moving its head, and you can see the kind of reflections in the various facets of its eyes as it's taking it all in. From behind its back, it pulls out this probably about 2 foot long wooden spike. And on the spike, there's sort of in ornate carvings. Grimace.
Grimace tries to put some cookies on the spike. You can have as many as you want.
Do a social do a social check, difficulty 2. So it's D4s.
D4s. Okay. Hold on. Got a 1 and I got a 4.
Okay, so you succeed. So the creature becomes a little bit less apprehensive as it pulls the cookie and starts. The mandibles start basically destroying it. So Aurora.
Okay, Aurora's going to look around to everybody who's sort of started to gather around the bug and say, it's trying to tell us something, guys. It wants 5 lights. I don't know what 5 lights are, though. I think I have a lantern in my shop, though. What do you guys think?
All right. Doll.
So if I'm in front of it and I see the letters or the symbols.
Yep.
I don't know. Would it be fair to say that I could form the symbols on my skin or skin?
Yes, you would be able to.
Yeah, I would try that. Try to mimic the symbols that are in front of me.
Okay, so the spell grade is essentially 1 for you to change shape, which will also be changed what you're covering, etc. So so you're rolling D2s, and you roll the number of D2s is equal to your energy.
So 3 then?
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, I got a 1.
Okay, so you effectively change on your chest. You simulate the symbols that are on this weird spike. What you got to do now is an energy check to see if you run out of energy. So the difficulty is your number of ranks, which is 3.
Okay.
And which is D6s.
Okay.
and the grade of the spell was 1. So that's the number of dice that you roll.
All right, so 1d6.
If you roll a 1, you run out of energy.
I rolled a 6.
So you have plenty of energy left. Okay, so the creature immediately sees this happening and points one of its protrusions towards and goes and looks at Aurora and begins continuing the sign. Mabon.
The spike thing, did that look threatening?
It's you would know that it's part of its hands effectively. It only has 4 limbs, so it's not like a normal insect which would have 6, which immediately becomes really strange. It looks more like a locust. So these prongs also, you notice, like fine hairs underneath them. So it would effectively be a finger, but they are sharp.
Oh, damn it. I want to attack, but there's nothing that's making me want to attack. You know what I mean? I'll just continue to close the distance, and if I could ready an action for it attacking, like if it does something aggressive, I then want to hit it.
So you kind of have your hammer behind your back sort of thing ready.
Yeah, I'm ready. Because it's
you're gonna lay down the smack on its Rudy Poo candy ass.
That's right. You smell what the Mabon's cooking.
That's right. Okay, so the creature is still a little bit apprehensive, and it's pointing at Doll's chest, and it takes this wooden spike and it just drives it into the ground and twists it, and then takes several steps back and does a huge leap into the sky. Grimace.
So that one just took a huge leap into the sky. What did the other one do?
There is only one.
Oh, there's only one. So he's flying away?
Well, at the moment, he's in the sky. Well, he's several feet above you. He's just quickly leapt into the sky.
Did it look like it had, if I could read its face, did it look like it was mad or just like it wanted more cookies or it...
Do an emotion check, difficulty 1.
Okay, so that's a positive. I mean, I guess roll twice. That's another positive. So 2. Yeah.
So you failed or you succeeded?
Succeeded.
Okay, so yeah, you notice that it's not angry in any way. It's kind of like, I'll leave this to you.
Okay,
that's the kind of sense that you got from it.
Well, it looks like I'm gonna need some more cookies on my tray, and the insect guy looks like he's going away, so I just walk back to my bakery shop.
Aurora. So the final sign that it did before it leapt into the sky while it was pointing at Doll was, again, you determined that to be, I come, I hunger, you leave, 5 lights.
Okay, and it left the spike in the ground, correct?
Correct.
Aurora will go ahead and walk forward and try and pull it out of the ground to take a look at it.
Sure. So it's a little bit difficult being driven quite well into the ground. So you do a physical check, difficulty 1, to pull it out.
I succeeded.
So out comes, you are now holding this wooden spike, and carved around its edges are what you would see as being 2 different languages. So the symbols are noticeably different.
Do I know what languages they might be?
One of them seems familiar and the other one does not. So we'll move on to Doll.
Doll probably realizes the crisis is over and that they are standing up and moving at their free will, and their disguise has suddenly gone bust. So Doll's gonna go limp.
Okay.
And pretend it's a doll again.
So you just flop down onto the muddy road.
Yep.
Mabon.
Mabon sees that Grimace is starting to walk away and says, Grimace, can I get some of those cookies real quick?
So as you're turning and you're shouting at Grimace, you kind of notice at the corner of your eye a doll you used to have in your childhood, which you used to love this thing, and you sort of all the fond memories and the warm cookies, everything's kind of flooding back into your mind. What was the doll's name?
I used to name this doll Nails.
Nails. So you just like you just your mind is filled with like, I haven't seen Nails in you're a dwarf. I haven't seen Nails in 75 years.
And Nails is Nails standing or laying there still?
He's now flopped in the mud.
So I will, as I yelled out for cookies, I'm like, wait, why did I ask for cookies? That's weird. And then I like have this flashback to my childhood, eating cookies while talking with Nails and pretending to feed the cookies to Nails. And I pick up the doll drenched in mud as it just droops there. And I try to dust it off and wring out the mud a little. And I squeeze really hard and twist and you know, getting all of it out of it and try to get a really good look at it. And I'm like, oh, and I know without a shadow of a doubt, this was my doll. Oh, I kind of hug it real close and tight. I'm like, oh, your beard is gone. And what kid did this to you? And I think it's just hideous compared to what I remember.
Grimace. So you've been going back towards your shop, and you get called, you know, for a batch of cookies by your blacksmith friend, one of the only people in the city who doesn't treat you like a complete outsider.
Well, of course, I got your cookies right here. And Mavis waddles over to the blacksmith, or Grimace waddles over to the blacksmith Mavis and presents a plastic wrap with a nice little ribbon around it of cookies. Here you go, my friend.
Thank you.
You notice that he has picked up this wooden doll from the ground. So we move to Doll.
Well, I think Doll's going to just try to stay as limp as possible in this situation because any movement might get it in trouble.
Okay. You know, obviously, that this has been one of your previous beards that you used to use for your cat burgling. You basically hang around with kids, and at night you sneak out and steal shit and eat cats. So you know, you're quite comfortable in this dwarf's presence. Mabon. Sorry, have we missed sorry, Aurora. We missed you. I'm sorry. You're muted.
Okay. Well, I'm holding the spike still, trying to look at this language, the one that looks familiar, and then there's the one that's not. And Aurora thinks to herself that maybe somebody else here might know some languages she doesn't, walks over to our dwarven friend and says, "Hey, take a look at this," and sort of pushes the spike towards him a little bit and says, do you know what this says?
All right. So we have done doll already. So Mabon.
So I would look at it as I'm holding this doll and try to decipher what it says.
You don't recognize either of the languages, but do an education check difficulty 2.
Okay. I get it. So I rolled a d6 and my low half is 1. So
D4s is for difficulty 2.
Oh, sorry, I did that wrong.
That's all right.
My bad. So 1d4 for intelligence. I did get a 1.
All right. So you remember your dwarven heritage. That's sometimes what they would do is you know, rather than having paper-based contracts, they would have they would carve these sort of totems that they would leave in strategic places around the kingdom to tell people where the boundaries of their territory are.
Okay, so I would relay that information to Aurora. in as best a way as I could to her.
Okay. So Grimace, you overhear what he's saying.
What do you think this is? I am from the plane Hexazor, and I can only speak of that language. So do you think Grimace would know that language that's on the side of the stick?
No. So you not only are you foreign to this land, you're foreign to this plane of existence. So all these people are weird and wonderful, and you love and enjoy all the new things that you learn about them.
I think it's a stick of love. I think it's a beacon to tell us that he loves us. He ate our cookies after all.
Aurora.
Aurora takes the stick back from Mabon and is just going to spend some time really looking at the one language that she found to be familiar to see if she can figure out why it looks so familiar to her. Like, is it some form, does it share some characters like with the Elvish language, or some sort of script that's similar to it, or something like that?
So the one that you recognize is an old humanoid script. So it's like the old form of common almost, but it predates that. That's the kind of you just remember from your wanderings before you settled in Pete Bogton. You know that's what you used to pick up from a few people. Do a mental check, difficulty 1.
That'd be a no.
Okay. So there's still something tickling in your mind. It's like it's on the tip of your tongue, sort of thing. All right, so you move to Doll.
Dahl realized, probably just as someone was explaining that this might be a contract,
Yep.
that it might have just signed a contract without even knowing what it was. So Dahl's
Sudden fear spreads all over you.
yeah, sudden fear suddenly spreads all over Dahl.
All right.
You said we could catastrophically fail if we wanted to.
If you want to, yeah. When you do, so you have to be doing a roll, and then if you fail, you can then choose to fail in a spectacular way.
Okay. I'll
Right,
take note of that.
Yeah, you have to be doing a roll at the time, that's all. Right, so we're back to Mabon.
So I for a second I thought I felt the doll like quiver. And I looked down at it, I'm like, this doll has always been so strange. I remember my mom misplacing it every night, it seemed. Anyways. Cookies, thank you very much. And I will continue to look at this spike. And how heavy is it?
It's quite heavy. Obviously, it took a little bit of physical force to actually lift it out of the ground. But you can also do a mental check, difficulty 1.
Okay, so 1 is a D2.
Yep.
I failed. I want to fail miserably.
Okay. So while you're checking it out, your brute strength, you actually rip the thing in half.
I don't know why that's bad, but dang it. Sorry. I just throw it down.
So now some of the markings are no longer distinguishable as to what they actually were originally. So you give yourself an extra story value token. All right. So that brings us back to Grimace.
Okay, so I just saw Mavis rip apart the stick of love,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Okay. I can take this back to the bakery and see if I can put a little, flour, water, make glue, and maybe it'll go back together. I mean, I'd hate to have the insect not have a love stick, especially if that's why it left it here. Aurora, I forgot to give you these cookies, and also gives a nice little tied up ribbon bound, I guess not plastic wrap. We'll go with like cheesecloth of cookies to Aurora.
Okay, these cookies, we're going to say that they're so good that they actually give you a bonus emotion when you eat them. So you get an extra bonus, you get an extra emotion dice whenever you've just eaten a cookie.
The secret is a nutmeg and
That's
lots
right.
of love.
Aurora. So you the moment that this thing splinters, you kind of have another flash. There's something you're thinking about. So we're going to do the same mental check again, but this time, because it's so close to the tip of your tongue, you get an extra dice.
Oh, I succeeded. Barely, but I succeeded.
So
you would think.
You just have this flash of a name in your mind, and that's Danton. So, Dol.
Dol's gonna wiggle a little bit because Doll still has the symbols all over its body, basically, or on its chest.
Yep.
So Doll's gonna try to wiggle enough that maybe the dwarf will be like, "Oh, hey, what's going on?"
Okay, do a physical check, difficulty 1, to do the slight twitch.
Okay, and I got a bonus 2, so that's 3
Correct.
D4s. Okay,
3d2s.
3D2s. Okay, let me use the right dice. Yep, I have a 1.
Okay. So that brings us to Mabon. So the doll, you feel like almost like a buzz in your hand, but it's very light. But it draws your attention to the doll, and you see the markings that you saw on that spike are on the chest of the doll.
Guys, look what the thing did to the doll! And I say that really loud, like I'm freaked out, and I drop the doll back in the mud, and the mud just goes and splashes everywhere.
Do an emotion check, difficulty 1.
Difficulty 1, emotion. I failed.
So you go screaming down the road.
All right, I run away.
So that brings us to Grimace.
Mavis, come back. The insect gave it a love kiss. That's what the symbols are from the stick, right? They look the same, I think. I think it's just a love marking, just to tell us that it loves us.
Do a social check, difficulty 1.
Is that what the D4?
D2s.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that was positive?
Yes.
Success?
Yes. So if it's a 1, it's any 1s are a success.
Okay, so plus is a 1, so succeed?
Yep. So even though Lee actually did roll a success, you're
It's okay. I failed.
you manipulate him into stopping and turning around and taking it a little bit easy. All right, so that brings us back to Aurora.
Aurora perks up and says, I know what to do. We've got to go see Danton. He'll know what to do. And then she walks over to the doll and sort of carefully picks up the doll, trying to kind of avoid the really muddy, dirty parts of the doll, and kind of picks it up and sort of tries to shake off a little bit of the mud.
Okay. The mud kind of comes off really easily. So that brings us to Doll.
Doll's doing its best to just stay still and stay limp like an actual doll.
So I'm just going to go back to Aurora for just 1 second. You two have seen this doll a few times around town. Over the years, many different children have brought this doll into the shop, where their mums have come to buy some healing salves or, sort of ward of Yake's blood or something to that effect. You've seen this doll about town. It's done the rounds. So that brings us to Mabon. Now, Mabon, the moment that Aurora says the name Danton, you remember that, you have sometimes done some shoeing on the pony of an old monk that lives outside outside near the rim of the moorlands. And occasionally, every few months, he comes into town and he buys a few things from you. He's always disheveled. And he is unkempt and has a long beard, and you kind of feel sorry for the guy.
What's his name again?
Danton.
Do I think he would know anything about this?
You don't know anything about him other than he's just some old hovel living old guy who has a pony.
So I obviously I regained my composure. I was a little freaked out.
Yeah.
I'm gonna distance myself from that problem over there, the doll with witchcraft on its chest, and I'm going to say, Danton, hey, how are you doing today?
No, she mentions the name Danton.
Oh, my bad. I thought I saw him.
And so you just remember this guy having come into your shop.
Okay. So I will say to her, how do you know Danton?
So that brings us to Grimace.
So Grimace does pick that doll up, and Grimace is examining it. Yes, I think it's a love that they just wanted to give, and pushes it back to Mavis.
So basically, Mavis doesn't want to touch it at this point. He's still a little bit shaken from it. And Aurora is the one who then has, starts to clean the mud off. So Aurora, your turn.
Aurora looks at the doll and says, I've seen you before. Everybody really seems to like you. And then looks over at Mabon and says, Danton, I've run into him a couple times, just on the outskirts of town, when I'm going in and going out, and always very friendly. I think he would know what to do. I saw this thing he had one time, and it doesn't look like this, but he's been around a while. Why not, right? I think we should give it a shot.
I'll give you a story value token for that. Doll.
Still being passed around and everything, still trying to act like a doll.
So it's kind of it's almost like you manipulate her to move you into her bag.
Mm-hmm. If there's a way to kind of make myself weighted so her hand starts going to the bag without her realizing it, I'll do it.
Let's do a physical check, difficulty 1.
Okay. I got a 1.
Okay, yeah, so you kind of, the weight shifts in your body and she kind of just unconsciously puts you in her bag. Which brings us to Mabon.
I feel a little weird about her putting the doll into her bag because I do have fond memories. But so I say, you realize there's voodoo on that chest. We need to get that fixed. And if you don't mind, I would really like my doll back once we get that fixed.
All right. So you're talking amongst yourselves, and obviously, the subject of this Danton character has come up, and this insectoid is nowhere to be seen anymore, and the townspeople basically, the whole place is now shut up. You're like the only people left standing in the street. So there's the three of you with Doll and Doll in the bag, and you kind of, it's crickets. It's Still, it's about late morning. The sun is not very warm. It's kind of one of those coolish winter days, and you basically have to decide on what you want to do next. So we'll go to Grimace.
Well, Danton, do I know Danton? Did he ever go into my shop, my bakery?
You would, yes, probably once or twice. Do an education check, difficulty 1.
Okay, pass. Success.
Okay, so you remember that this old man had come in, and he had been mumbling something about the old days of the Brotherhood when they, used to go and find creatures like you, and and find homes and places to place them and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of all you remember from what he had, his interactions with you. He was just this old guy who used to wander into town with his pony every few months or so.
Okay.
Aurora.
Aurora turns to Mabon and tells him, well, of course you can have your doll back. I just want to bring it with us because, well, you kind of broke the little stick thing that we sort of needed. And so I want to make sure that we're not missing any of the symbols. So I'm just thinking if we bring it along, but yeah, once the symbols are gone, if you want it back, you totally can have it back. I mean, it probably should belong with you anyway, but so do you guys want to go?
So we go to Doll. Obviously, you're in the bag. Do you have any thoughts on what you want to do?
Well, nature is to burgle, and if there's anything pretty or shiny within this bag, it's probably going to go into the chest cavity.
So her sickle is in the bag, and there's a whole bunch of herbs that have been twined together in the different types of herbs. So it's quite a sweet smelling bag. There's a little bit of lavender and some spice smells and things like that. So it's quite a comfortable little position you have yourself in there. But the only thing that's worth really thieving is the sickle.
And it's probably the shiniest thing in there. So.
It is the shiniest thing in there.
Yep, that sickle's gonna go inside Doll.
All right. Mabon.
I warn Aurora and say, are you sure you want the doll in the bag? It had voodoo on its chest. And I say, clearly the thing that I accidentally broke did this to the doll, and that is not something you play with. And I am terrified because I am afraid of magic.
Do a social check, difficulty 1. Sorry, make it difficulty 2.
Okay, so D4.
Yeah.
I got a 1.
All right. So Aurora, you do feel some concern about this doll. You're friends with the dwarf, and you've come to respect him over the years. He's diligent. He's caring, all these sort of things. So you do hold stock in what he says, but it's up to you as to how you act on that. So that brings us back to Grimace.
Oh, I think the doll is fine. I think it's full of hope and joy and love and affection. I do not understand why you think it is evil, but Aurora, I need to actually purchase some ginger and some lavender off of you. Do you have any with you?
All right. So we're back to Aurora again. So your question hung in the air, but was sort of ignored.
So Aurora kind of looks at Mabon and thinks about the doll for a second and says, well, if you think it would be better, I could just strap the doll to the outside of my bag And then it would be like it's just coming on the adventure with us. And with that, she'll sort of take off her pack and scrounge around for the doll. If she happens to run into the ginger or whatever Grimace needed, she'll give those to Grimace at that time. But then you just kind of strap the doll to the outside of her pack and put the pack back on. And then she's going to start to head to wherever Danton lives.
Okay, so you'd know about roughly about where he is on the edge of the moorlands, where there's sort of that's where the bogs start. So you know it's a dangerous sort of area, but you know you've been gathering herbs in this region for quite a long time, so you do know your way around. So it shouldn't be too difficult for you to find it. So Doll, you are strapped to the outside of her bag, so you are along for the ride, whether you like it or not.
Yep.
Mabon and Grimace, you see her walking off. Do you wish to follow her?
Mabon will definitely follow behind her to keep an eye on this evil thing. And he will, as he starts to walk, he does turn to Grimace and say, "The doll is nothing but love, joy, and creative imagination. The junk on his chest right now is not, and that is evil." And I say it gritting my teeth with just spit, just right in Grimace's face.
All right, do a social check, difficulty 2.
Failed.
Yeah. So Grimace, he says these words to you, but doesn't faze you in any way, shape, or form. So, do you wish to follow her?
Yeah, Grimace needs those herbs from Aurora, so Grimace does pursue, and also turns to Mavis and says, "I still do not understand why you think it's evil. I think it is trying to symbolically tell us that it loves us. I do not understand. Why do you see evilness in such a happy little creature?"
So the 3 of you plus 1 hanging on Doll progress through the moorlands towards where Aurora believes that this hovel is that Danton lives in. The argument between Mabon and Grimace continues about whether it's love or evil that is on the back of the doll, and Doll kind of just is giggling internally.
Well,
Aurora, as she travels through, you do notice some of your favorite spots. It's that time of year when you need to be harvesting some of the herbs and that kind of stuff in this area. But because this seems like a more pressing engagement, you head on as the leader of this small troop towards the hovel that you know. So it's later in the day, it's sort of mid-afternoon when you're approaching this sort of hillside that clearly some trees and things have been felled to kind of make a makeshift cabin inside the side of a hill. And you see Danton's pony lying on the ground, and it looks like there's blood covering the side of the pony. Its head is slightly lifting up off the ground, and you can hear it struggling to breathe. Grimace.
Oh no, it looks like it's been hurt. What can we do to help it? Grimace would go over to the animal to see exactly what it thought might have caused it pain.
Okay, you see a spear in this, that's as the horse is lying in the side of its sort of stomach. There's the hilt of a spear sticking out.
Is the spear
the horse is trying very, very hard to breathe, but it's towards the end of its existence.
Okay. So the spear, does it look like it's from like the insect, or does it look like a totally different thing, not in the insect theme?
It doesn't look like anything that you would have determined from the insect, but you can do an education check, difficulty 2, which is D4s.
Oh, okay. And that is a 1.
So you recognize these as spears from some of the creatures that attacked you when you first arrived in the town. You know, you came from somewhere within the bogs, and you were traversing the bogs, and you remember these spears distinctly. There's some sort of ganglion kind of horrible creatures that live in the bog. Aurora.
Oh,
Okay. Upon seeing the pony with the spear, Aurora just looks completely horrified, runs and rushes up to the pony, realizing sort of the state that it's in, that it's probably at the end of its life. She just holds its head and pets it, tries to sort of calm it and sort of put it at ease. And she just kind of whispers to it, in Elvish, that it's going to be okay. It's going to be okay. Just relax.
So
just trying to calm it down.
Do an emotion check, difficulty 1. So it's D2s.
Yes.
Okay, so the pony does calm down as you stroke its mane, and you can sense that it's at peace when it finally draws its last breath and then wheezes out the final gasp of air. Brings us to Dull.
Dull's trying not to salivate because it's been a long while since Dull has had horse meat.
You're hoping the bag gets close.
Yes, hoping. Actually, if I can shift my weight again to get close to the horse.
Okay. Difficulty 3.
So
Physical
those
check.
are
Those are D6s.
6s. Okay. Nope.
So, so you kind of fall off but you kind of undo the strap that's tagged to the bag, and you fall down next to the horse rather than on top of it. Mabon.
So Mabon, seeing the horse, knows the horse really well and says, "Percy, no," and starts crying because, working with Dalton, I've seen the horse Percy many times, and seeing it calm down as it's looking directly at me, I feel like I'm the one that brought the piece to the horse before it died. And then I turn to Aurora and I say, the doll fell off your bag again. You might want to resecure it. And then I go over to the horse and I just mutter a prayer in Dwarvish under my breath.
Okay. So the horse has passed on. You all spend a few moments, except for Dol, sort of, taking a moment's silence. Grimace, it is your turn.
So the spear that's sticking out of the poor horse, it is from a creature from the bog, but I cannot recall the kind of creature it was. Also, maybe in my culture, we sometimes take the hoofs of the animal and keep them and wear them around our neck. Would you like me to cut, perhaps with my other hand here, the hoof of the animal?
Aurora.
Hearing Grimace say that he thinks that we should cut off the hooves of the horse, she just has a completely horrified look on her face and says, "We're not cutting apart the horse." Grabs the doll and says, "Oh, Danton, I wonder if he's okay. I hope he's okay." And starts to run towards his house. I assume he has some sort of house there.
Yeah, it's a hovel. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Doll, you are now obviously in her hands, being rushed towards the hovel.
Yeah, try not to shed tears because Doll was so close.
This is the salivating tongue, just kind of like.
Yep.
All right, Mabon.
Mabon will draw his hammer out and rush towards Dalton's house behind Aurora.
Okay.
At the mention of his name.
All right. So we come back to Grimace. So you see Aurora and Mabon rushing towards the house.
Grimace follows them, but really felt that that hoof was very important, and it's kind of sad inside that they didn't want to take the hoof with them, because it is such a tradition of the culture that Mavis is a part of, the hexazors.
Do an emotion check, difficulty 1.
Okay, it's a fail.
All right. So you feel very sincere that the hoof should be taken off, and you decide that that's actually more important than going into the hovel, because this creature, the death must be traditionally handled.
Excellent.
Aurora.
Aurora's completely set on finding Danton inside, just really hoping that everything is okay. And as she reaches the door or the entrance to his hovel, she just runs in wildly.
So you rush into the darkness, and your eyes, having dark vision, quickly adjust to the dim light of the fire that's in the corner. And you see, slumped in a chair, Danton sort of gargling, and you can see that there's a lot of blood from stab wounds that is flowing out of his body. The place looks like it's been completely ransacked, and he is very close to the end. You see this as well, Mabon, when you enter. So that brings us to Doll.
Doll is brought into a place, and the first thing that Doll does is look around for the shiniest objects.
You actually recognize this place. You've actually been here before, and you know that this old man actually knows what you are. It sort of suddenly comes back to you that he's well aware of the ruse.
Doll will try to be very limp now.
All right, so that brings us to Mabon.
What kind of things have I made for Dalton before?
Horseshoes for Percy. You've made a few nails that he's obviously built his ramshackle hovel with. Tongs to poke his fire with, a knife and a fork, etc.
So I will walk over to Dalton and I will hold his hand, and I see the tongs sitting next to me, and I just grasp those as well. And those, if he passes, I'm going to take that as a token of our friendship. And I tell him, "You're with friends now."
He's looking at you, and he's kind of, it's that final light in his eye of recognition, and he's like, Boglodites. Boglodites.
Do we know what Boglodites are?
Yes, you know that they're a type of creature that lives in the bogs. You've never encountered one before, although Grimace has. And it is Grimace's turn.
So Grimace grabs a butcher knife out of Grimace's apron and chops the hoof off, then takes some butcher twine and takes Grimace's nail and punctures through really hard with Grimace's nail the hoof, and takes butcher twine to make a necklace, and then starts looking around for some flowers to decorate it, hopefully weaving in the flowers in the butcher twine to make a pretty necklace.
Okay, you're going to find some suitable flowers. So do a do an education check, difficulty 1.
Okay, that's positive.
All right, so you you gather up some flowers that are growing on the hillside with the hovel is built into, you know, and you start laying them in a sort of a wreath circle around the around and on the horse, the pony. Aurora, so you hear Danton's sort of utterances, and he looking towards you because obviously he knows that being a herbalist, you may be able to help him in his hour of need.
When Aurora sees him, she'll run over to him, kneeling down at his side, and say, no, we can fix this, and she'll open her bag and she'll start taking out different herbs and seeing what she has with her, hoping that maybe she has something that she feels would, you know, be appropriate, or, you know, I don't know how badly he's injured, but she's basically going to do what she can to try and grab a couple of things and start smashing them with a rock that she keeps in there to make it into, you know, like a paste to stop the bleeding, and she's going to do it as quickly as she possibly can.
Do an education check, difficulty 3, and we'll remind you that you do have story value tokens.
So if I use a story value token, then do I get to roll again?
So story value token, if you've got any 2s, they can be converted to a 1.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Nope. That's going to be a
or
no.
you can re-roll, or you can reduce the difficulty down by 1. It's up to you. But you would have had to do that before if you wanted to reduce the difficulty.
Oh, okay. But I could re-roll.
You can re-roll, yes.
Okay. Let's go ahead and try it. Yeah, that's still a no.
Okay. So unfortunately, you aren't able to create anything that can heal him back to life, but you do manage to create enough to kind of, like, you know, just give him a few more moments. Doll.
If Doll has been set down or was dropped,
yeah, you'd be on the floor while she's doing all this sort of thing.
And is it Mayburn?
Mabon, yeah.
Mabon. Is he watching Doll like a hawk still?
No, he's fully watching Danton.
Okay. Doll's gonna try to sneak off just a little so he's out of the action. And maybe in a dark corner.
Do a physical check, difficulty 1. It's D2s.
Okay. Got a 1.
All right, so you managed to quickly slip under a nearby bench. Mabon.
So I can tell that she didn't save him and that he's going to die.
He's basically been given a few more moments, and the pain has subsided somewhat because of the types of herbs she's using, but there's nothing that's going to help him.
So I clench his hand a little harder and I say, you will not die in vain, my friend. I will track every single one of them down, and I will get revenge for you. I love you, dear friend. And I start to get emotional.
As does he. So a tear's rolling down his cheek, and he utters the words, "Thank you, my friend. Why were you here at my final hour?" We move to Grimace.
Grimace finishes up the necklace with the hoof on it and walks into the cottage or house that they were in. Smiles at the necklace and says, "For you, my friend, this is the horse hoof of the fallen necklace. I hope you enjoy."
So he's a little bit horrified by this, but he's one of those people who knows that it's impolite to, be horrified at other people's cultures and the weird things that they do. So he's trying to hide it, but because he's in such a bad way, he's not hiding it very well. Aurora.
Aurora will look at Danton and say,
Sorry, before you continue, Mabon was saying how much he loved the guy, and he was be at peace and all the sort of thing, and the last utterances of Danton, who's still alive and around, was just asking why you happened to be there in his final hour.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So Aurora will look at Danton and say, there are these symbols. This insect dropped off the spike in the ground. There were these symbols on it, and I just knew, being so old and wise, that you would know what to do. You would know what they meant, and so she moves back to where her pack was, looking for the doll, and obviously the doll's not there. So she sort of searches through her pack, and she says, "I know it's got to be here somewhere." And she kind of looks in the area around them, thinking that maybe she, sort of threw it aside when she put her pack down because she was so, emotional at everything that happened. So she's just looking around to find the doll.
So do a senses check, difficulty 2.
That's a no.
So you don't see where Doll's current position is.
Okay.
That brings us to Doll.
Doll starts hearing, "Oh, where is that doll?" And Doll will freeze and limp.
Okay. Mabon.
He kind of hear her say that she lost the doll, and I'm going to start looking sporadically. Like, I let go of his hand, and I'm holding the tongs, and I get down on the floor, and I start looking.
Do a mental check, difficulty 1.
Difficulty 1. Yes, made it.
Okay. So you recall that you still have the broken spike. While you're fidgeting around, it's like you've put the 2 pieces on your belt, and it stabs you in the side, and you're like, "Oh yeah, I do have this." And now do senses check, difficulty 2.
All right. I do not do that, but I do quickly say, "Oh, I still have this," and I hold it out for Dalton as I'm still kind of looking for the doll.
So Dalton, he's looking at this thing that you're kind of moving around in front of him, and he says, "Marker, where did you get this marker?" We move to Grimace.
The mark, you mean the stick that from the insect, or the spear that we found in the horse?
Yeah, the stick from the insect.
It came from an insect that fell out of the sky.
The Sickleth. What does the creature do? Did it sign anything? Aurora.
Aurora will say, "Yeah, it was signing, and I couldn't make out anything except I come, I hunger, you leave 5 lights." And she'll try and sort of, as she says this, try and mimic the hand symbols that she remembers, in case there's information in there that he might know that she doesn't remember, and see if she can try and at least mimic them a little bit.
So there's this his eyes have gone very, very wide, and he's kind of starting to almost panic, and he's trying to stem the flow of blood as it oozes out of his chest. And he's all the healing herbs you've placed on him, he's kind of holding them in place, and he coughs up some blood, and he grabs Mabon, and he, by the scruff of the shirt and the leather tunic that he's wearing, and he says, you need to take the marker to the ruins in the Moor. The ruins in the Moor. And he's like, Doll.
Doll's gonna clunk harder so they could actually find him.
So everyone hears a noticeable clunk as the doll is kind of just peeking out from lying out from underneath a bench. It's a very noticeable sort of as though it had just fallen off the bench. Mabon.
So I will then turn to Aurora and say, wait, you understood what it was saying? They're coming in 5 days to kill us and eat us. We have to go, like Dalton said here. We have to go to the ruins. And that doll has the marking on it. And I see the doll on the floor.
So Dalton's still holding you, and he finishes coughing up some more blood, and he turns to you and goes, "It's not they, it's it. They act as one. It's one mind."
That creeps me out.
So that moves us to Grimace.
Perhaps we should take the doll back to the ruins as well, since it has the markings. And are you sure that this insect creature does not want love? Are you sure it hates people? Can Grimace give a cookie to the guy to make him feel better?
Yes. So you kind of give him a cookie, and he knows the effects of your cookie. So it calms him down significant, and you can see the thanks in his eyes as he slowly bites off little bits of it.
It goes well with blood.
I'll give you a story value token for that as well.
Okay.
So it's Aurora's turn, and Danton turns to you and he says, "Aurora, get the marker to the Brotherhood. You'll..." There's a river of blood just spews out of his mouth. And he grabs your dress, and he starts to draw a circle in his blood on your dress, and he marks 2 points on the circle. And his last words to you are, "Brotherhood." And he dies. Aurora.
Aurora is completely taken aback by his passing. She's never watched another human really die in her arms that she knew. She, for a moment, she's very speechless before she turns to Mabon and says, we need to bury him.
Doll.
Doll is very relieved that the guy's dead because Doll won't be outed now. But Doll will still remain there in sight just in case.
All right. Mabon.
Mabon sees the hoof around Grimace's neck and is furious, grabs the doll, and storms out of the room, heading towards the ruins. No words spoken.
All right. Grimace.
Grimace takes the hoof off of Grimace's neck and puts it on Danton's neck. This will make your passing better. I know you passed, but the horse's soul will go with you, and you will be one together in the afterlife. I don't know what Maven's problem was.
Aurora.
Aurora will start to run after Mabon as he runs out the door. She pauses for a moment to set her calming hand on Grimace and says, he doesn't understand what you tried to do. It'll be okay. It'll all work out. And then she runs after Mabon and says, "Hey, don't you think we should talk about this?"
All right, Doll. Doll.
Doll is very relieved that the guy's dead because Doll won't be outed now. But Doll will still remain there in sight just in case. Aurora.
Mabon sees the hoof around Grimace's neck and is furious, grabs the doll, and storms out of the room, heading towards the ruins. No words spoken. All right.
Uh, Huh. I don't think there's any way that Dahl can actually slow down Maven because he's a lot bigger. Nope. Dahl will just click and clatter even louder, so if he gets too far ahead, Aurora can follow.
Okay. I'll give you an extra story value token. So the rest of you can hear the clicking and clacking as Mabon disappears into the mists of the bog. You can hear the clickety clack of the doll as he paces in there. Now, Aurora and Grimace, do you want to follow him into the bog?
Yes.
Okay. So, Mabon, you're running through the bog, and it's been a few minutes, and it's some hard work, and you're dodging branches, and your feet are being sucked on as you're running through all the mud and muck. And it kind of suddenly dawns on you, don't actually know where this fortress actually is. And so you slow down a little bit, and you come to a stop on a hard surface where the mud is hardened and is dried out a bit. And you can hear the others calling your name and coming up after you from behind. Now, do a senses check, difficulty 2.
All right. I'm going to use a story value token to drop it down a difficulty.
Okay. All right.
Now, can I use more than one?
Yes, but you can't do the same thing.
Okay, so I drop it down by 1, but then I give myself the chance to roll twice.
If you want to, yes.
Good thing I did that, because I succeeded
All right.
on the second roll.
Okay, so you sense that there are some things, there's something surrounding this area that you can hear. There was like a sudden or something like that, as something trod in the mud. That's probably behind a log over there or a tree stump over there. Grimace.
Grimace was following them. I don't know how far Grimace got.
So you arrive in this. You find Mabon has stopped in this sort of slightly raised, dry area from the bog. So you step up onto this area, and what would you like to do?
Maven, it's okay. It's a part of my culture. Let me give you a hug. I don't know why you get so upset. Come here. Give me a hug. We'll be okay. It'll be okay. Just calm down, buddy.
Can I interrupt and shove the doll in her mouth?
You can do that on your turn. Aurora, so you arrive as well. So you're hot on the heels of Grimace, who was hot on the heels of Mabon, and so you hopped up onto you kind of are quite light on your feet, so you're not really that affected by the bog waters, and you skip daintily across them and land perfectly fine on this dry area.
Aurora will look at Mabon and say, Mabon, I don't think we are going in the right direction. I mean, I've seen some ruins around here. I thought they were that way, but I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe I got a little turned around when we ran out of the hut. I mean, it all happened so fast, but I mean, how are we gonna, do you know where we're going? I mean, I just feel like we were just like running through the bog, and do you know the direction? Or do you think we should go that way? Because I'm thinking we should go that way.
Do a senses check, difficulty 2.
Oh, I succeeded.
So you also hear there's something, you sense that something is in this area. There's something about, probably behind a log or behind a tree stump. The mists are, swirling around, as the heat of this afternoon has been evaporating all the water from the bog. Doll.
So did we all hear that noise, or just them?
You can do a senses check as well.
Okay. And what is that at?
Difficulty 2, so it's D4s.
Nope.
No. So yeah, you come to rest on the bag, but you don't hear any of the commotion of anything around. So, Mabon.
Mabon will shove the doll in Grimace's mouth, which is probably why he failed. And then I will turn to Aurora now with the free hand and go like this as I grab my hammer, and I then bring both hands on it and start looking around for what's making the noise.
Okay. Now that you are actively looking for it, you do a senses check, difficulty 1.
Nope.
No. All right. So that brings us to Grimace. Grimace, you have this doll in your mouth now, but you did you do a senses check? I can't remember.
Not yet.
Okay, so do a senses check, difficulty 2.
Okay, rolled a 2.
All right, so you can convert that 2 to a 1 if you wish. That will make you succeed.
Okay.
All right, so you also sense that there's something around. So even though you've got this doll in your mouth, your head is darting left and right, and again something about this log and this stump are feel like there must be something behind that.
Okay, Grimace makes a connection that Mabon was trying to not so subtly tell it that there is something in the bushes and to be quiet, and that is why Mabon put the doll in Grimace's mouth. Grimace feels slightly, slighted, but is okay with it and takes the doll out, just understands that and kind of looks around with its one eye, just looking around. What is that? What is that?
Right.
What is that?
Aurora.
So, after Mabon symboled for her to be quiet, she kind of shut up immediately, and is looking around to see what's out there. She's thinking that maybe it's just like some frogs, it's been kind of one of those days and we were kind of cruising through the bog here and we upset them, and so now they're jumping all over the place. So she thinks it's probably not really a very big deal, but she's trying to see what he's looking for.
Okay. You can do the senses check again, and you get 1 extra dice. So it was difficulty 2's D4s.
Oh, okay. Oh, I succeeded.
Okay, so you now also are aware of there's something lurking. All right. Doll.
If Doll is still in Grimace's mouth, Doll is going to try to get out.
Okay.
In the best way possible.
Let's do a physical check, difficulty 2.
Difficulty 2. So that's D6s, right?
D4s.
D4s out. Keep going up a number. Yes.
Okay. So you managed to pull a fast one and plop out of the mouth onto the ground. So everybody obviously sees this happening, but assumes that it's Grimace who spat it out of his mouth. All right. So that brings us to Mabon.
Mabon will actually move towards the closest direction where he heard a sound from.
Okay. So you are moving quickly, or you're just walking in that?
Like stealthily, because I don't want to be noticed if they haven't noticed me.
Okay. All right. So we're moving into combat now. So remember that it's what you do and your position and all these kind of things that become important in terms of on determining how difficult it is to hit a creature. So from behind the log and from behind the stump, jump 2 of these weird ganglion gray horrible things with pointy ears and fangs. They have spears. They've got like a pot belly, and their rear feet are kind of webbed, and they seem to have like a whole bunch of junk that they have strapped around them. They're not really wearing armor of any kind, but those fangs are something you don't want to be bitten by. And you notice that the smell of the bog is not really the smell of the bog, it's the smell of these creatures. So there's one coming from behind the tree stump, and we will do a check. So there's essentially 3 of you. So Grimace is a 1 or 2, Aurora is a 3 or 4, and Mabin is a 5, 6. So the first one from behind behind the stump is attacking Grimace. This one has like a weird green tattoo on its face. The second one attacks Aurora. And that has its hands have weird red tattoos on its hands that are grasping the spear. And Mabin, well, let's see, the last one. So the 2 that are pouncing from behind the log are both going towards Aurora. And the last one has a deep gash scar across its chest. It has healed a long time ago, but it still looked like it had been a vicious wound. So these things are... they were trying to surprise attack you, and they've essentially failed. So the initiative order, they actually do go first anyway, but they don't get an extra round in surprise. So the one that's attacking Grimace. So just if you want to go to the this is the combat calculation, the calculate combat score guide. If you look at that, you can kind of see what's happening. So you are size 7, Grimace, is that correct?
Yep.
So these are size 5. So you are larger than them. So they're smaller, they get +1. They are charging, so they get another 2. So that's 3. They don't have any allies at this point. You are armed, but you don't actually have any actual weapons. So you're considered unarmed, even though you actually have weapons as hands. So that makes 4, and so that means their combat score is 4, which is D8s. So the first one takes a stab towards you with a spear and fails to hit you. Now, Aurora, it's basically the same. What's your size? You're 5, aren't you?
Correct.
So they're the same size as you, so they don't get the size bonus, which means that they are 3, which is D10s. So they fail to hit you as well, the one. And the second one also. So you manage to move out of the way as the spears are being jabbed towards you. So that brings us in the initiative order is essentially going to be the turn order. And so Grimace goes first.
Grimace sweeps down and grabs the doll and says, Here, we do not come to fight you. We come to make friends. Take the doll as a friend offering.
Okay, so picking up the doll is an action. Speaking is a non-action, so you can speak, but only as short as you did. So you still have movement. You can do a movement. Now, the way that movement works, you can basically move anywhere within the area, but you can only move in a straight line. The moment you change direction, it's the end of your move. So do you want to stay where you are, or do you want to continue moving?
So in front of her is a creature, and behind her allies are taking on creatures?
Correct, yes.
Okay, so their backs are to her, its back then, right?
Correct.
Okay. So in that case, the action that Grimace would take would be to gently toss the doll at one of the creatures that it is talking with.
Okay. All right. So, doll, you are now essentially being used as a ranged weapon.
Hooray!
You're gently being tossed, not as a weapon, but as a negotiation of friendship.
But you threw it at it, right? With an
Tossed
intention.
it gently, quote
Yeah,
unquote.
but with an intention for it to land on or near it. Is that right?
Like in its hands, like if you were a grandma toss.
All right. So we'll just do it as a ranged, even though it's an attack, you're not doing any damage. So your range distance, you're within close range, is 2. You get the base is 3. So you need to roll d10s.
Okay.
Just a
1d10?
single d10. Single
Okay.
d10.
5.
All right. If you had succeeded, that would have been improvised weapon, even though you're not really attacking with it. Okay. So that brings us to Aurora. You have 2 of these creatures that are currently attacking you.
Yeah, Aurora's gonna back up a little bit and try and take her pack off and grab her sickle out of her pack.
Okay. So you do what is essentially a quick step, which is a quick action. So you take a step back. And as your action, you go to draw your weapon. Unfortunately, your weapon is not in there. You still have a movement.
Upon realizing that her weapon is not in there, she's basically gonna look around for something around her, maybe like a big stick or something that she could hit them with instead.
Okay. It's acceptable, the fact that there would be a piece of a branch or something like that that you can pick up.
Okay, and then she'll grab that and she'll try and just, I don't know if I can still attack this round or not, but she would use that as a weapon
So
instead.
you've
like
already
a
had your
club.
action, which was to try to take something out of your bag. But yeah, so the movement, you're basically picking up the log. All right. So Doll.
So Doll is in the arms of this creature now.
Yeah. So it kind of like to protect itself, it kind of caught you.
Where is Doll's head at the moment?
So you'd be like staring at its face.
Can I just bite its head?
Yes. You would need to shape shift to get to a size that you could actually get your mouth around its face.
Oh, break the disguise? Oh man, I don't know about that. I think I might just try to sneakily stab it so it drops Doll.
Okay, so you basically want to draw the dagger out and stab it. Is that right?
Yep.
Okay, so this will essentially be a complete action. You won't be able to move or anything after this. So you get a surprise because it just suspects that you're a wooden doll. So you get the base score of 1. You are much smaller than the opponent. So your size is 2, correct?
Yes.
So they're size 5, so you get 2 for that. The surprise, as I said, is another 3, so that makes it 6. And they attacked in the last round, so that brings you all the way to 7. So D2s.
D2s. And how many? Just
it's your dagger, so you get 1 plus bonuses.
1 plus bonuses. So essentially 2 dice, I believe.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I do it.
Okay, so you just jab the dagger straight into this thing's like scrangly chest through one of its ribs, causing an injury. So the way the injuries work in this game, creatures, every single creature, no matter what they are, can only sustain 7 injuries. It will last, but the thing is, its emotion takes over as to whether it's going to stay around a lot, and that takes over when it reaches 2, 4, and 6 injuries. So at the moment, you stab it, its natural reaction is to drop you.
All part of the plan.
All right, so that brings us to Mabon.
See them playing hot potato with the doll, and out of the corner of my eye. And I take my blacksmith hammer, which I'm assuming is a longer one with just a small metal head. And I try to, with my offhand, grab the spear and swing over at its head. as the gray creature's heads.
Okay, so as a quick action, you basically step to one side and swing your hammer at it. So you have a base score of 1. You are smaller than the opponent because you're size 4, so that's 2. It attacked in the last round, so that's another 2, which makes 4. And these are one of the ones that's attacking Aurora, isn't it?
Yeah, because I don't think anyone attacked
one
me.
ally as well, so that makes 5, which is d6s.
Okay. Going to use one of my points to add a die before I do this.
Sure.
Now, if I hit, then I can also declare to make it a crit.
Correct, but that takes another token.
Sure. I'm down to 1 after this, so I will miss.
Okay. All right, so you take a big swing and the thing just moves its head out of the way at the last moment. So that brings us back to Grimace.
Okay, so the creature is in front of Grimace, correct? And what is going on behind? Is there like any creatures behind Grimace in range of attack?
Yeah, so the creatures actually have to go before you. Sorry, but
Okay.
yeah. So there's the one that you're attacking. And so everyone else is behind you. You're attacking the 2 creatures that are behind you. So you're facing the 1 creature, and there's 2 and everyone else behind you. So the one that you were attacking is attacking back after it's just been attacked by this doll thing, but its focus is now on the doll, so it's going to attempt to stab the doll. All right. The doll counts as on the ground, so you're lying on the ground.
Yep.
It has no allies. So it's 4, which is d8s. And it fails to hit you. So you just see this Grimace, you just see this creature trying to stab at the doll, and it just misses. So it stabs between sort of the arm here in the ground.
That was
Okay.
close.
That was close. So the one with the red tattoo, again, is attacking Aurora. So Aurora, you are the same size as it. You did not attack. You are considered armed now, which you weren't before. So it's base of 1. You are stationary, so that's 2. It has an ally, which makes 3. So that's d10s. So that fails to hit you. So the next one, the one with the scar, is now actually attacking Mabon. And that will essentially be the same score, except you are smaller. It's not going to make any difference. All right. And it fails to hit you as well. So Grimace, sorry, it's back to you.
Okay, so Grimace, no. All right, how close are Grimace's allies to Grimace? Area of effect wise?
It would be like 10 feet away.
Okay, so Grimace does a spinning fist to the creature to kind of knock it prone if possible. It's a little love tap. So
slap it to the ground, effectively.
Right, but Grimace wants to dance almost like spinning gracefully on its hoof and takes its giant mallet of love just to whap it upside the head.
So what you're essentially doing is a trip attack. So to knock it to the ground, you're basically not going to injure it, but it will end up on the ground, which is going to obviously give you a lot more advantages. So you do a normal attack, so you have a base. You are larger than the opponent. I'll give you higher ground. So that's 2. You actually have an ally, even though you don't know it. So that's 3. And The creature is stationary, which makes 4, and attacks, which makes it 6. So D4s.
How many D4s? So 6 D4s?
So no, you've got D4s, and it's equal to your weapon proficiency. So 1 plus how many bonuses you have in that weapon.
Oh, okay. Okay, so 5.
So how many dice do you roll? 2 dice?
Yep, 2. So 4 and a 1.
So you got a 1, which means you succeeded.
Oh, okay. Right.
Okay. So yeah, you basically knock this thing to the ground, which brings us to Aurora.
Okay, Aurora is going to take the log branch thing that she picked up, and try and swing it at the creature, attempting to really try and knock it out. She doesn't really want to hurt it that much, but I mean, it's coming at her, so she's gonna try and like hit it in the head so that it would, just pass out or something like that. That's what she's hoping to do.
All right. So if you're hitting it with the log, it's basically going to be injured. But I understand you essentially want to stun it.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right. It's going to be very difficult to stun it with the log, but you may still injure it. So you have a base score of 1. You are the same size as the opponent. I'll also give you high ground, which makes 2. You have an ally, which makes 3. The opponent is stationary, which makes 4, and it attacked, which makes 6. So D4s.
That's a miss.
Okay. Do you want to use story value?
Not yet.
Okay. You can also fail spectacularly. Don't forget that. So if you want to earn more, you can actually fail spectacularly, and that will gain a story value point. But bad things tend to happen. All right. So that brings us to Doll.
So the thing that was attacking Doll is now prone. Is it
Correct.
still?
So as it stabbed the ground between your arm and your side, this huge mallet fist thing of Grimace's just smacked it to the ground in a gentle, loving way.
In a gentle, loving way. I think in a gentle, loving way, Doll is going to bite its ankles.
Okay. So you're just going to use your normal shape?
Yep.
Okay. So you don't have far to move, so you can essentially be charging. So it's a base score is 1. You are half the size, so that makes 3. Your charging makes 5. You have an ally, which makes 6. And the other thing is on the ground, so that takes it all the way to 7 as D2s.
Nice. And do I just roll 1 because this is an unarmed attack? Or...
That's right. You're using your mouth.
Okay. Double checking there. I got a 1. Yay!
All right. So your fangs come out and your tongue, and you and you bite this thing. It freaks. Ah! All right. That brings us to Mabon. You didn't see this because it's behind you, but you hear the thing shrieking.
Would I have any of my other weapons on me? I'm just curious, like battle axe, pickaxe, or a war axe.
No, you didn't acquire any of those.
Okay, just curious. Okay, so then I'm going to swing again with my hammer.
All right. So you're just standing where you are. You're not going to make any moves or anything.
I would definitely try to move and pivot around it so that
You did step to the side the last time, so I will give it to you that you'll be able to get behind it. So you will be now rear attack known or aware. So base score of 1 plus 3 for the rear makes 4. You have an ally, which makes 5. And it attacked, which makes 7. So D2s.
D2s, okay.
So your hammer, you get a bonus, so you roll 2 D2s.
Yep. So I hit technically twice, but I hit once.
Yeah, you hit. So you just bash this thing on the back of the head. You can hear its skull kind of fracturing. All right, that brings us to Grimace. So the first of all, the one that's been attacking Grimace, it has to do an emotion check. It's a motion check. The difficulty is based on the number of injuries that it has. So that is currently 2. So it's rolling d4s, and these aren't super emotional creatures. So it fails. So it just, that's it. This doll thing just bit me, and I'm getting the fuck out of here. So it's hightailing it back. It leaps over the stump and just scurries off into the bog. And the other 2, so the one that is attacking Aurora. All right, so its base, you are same size. It has 1 ally, is 2. You attacked makes 4 is d8s. It fails to hit you. And the one attacking Mabon, so basically it has to turn around to face you, and then attempts to do its attack. You are no longer higher ground because you went behind it, just for future reference. So it has a base score, it has 1 ally, and you attacked, so that makes 4, also d8s, and it narrowly misses you. I rolled a 2. So, Grimace.
How far does a creature get?
So you, the way this works is it basically runs its full distance, so it moves quite far. You would be able to catch it, being the size that you are. You would be able to overtake it, but it does take a physical check in order to catch up with it. You can also, if you had a sharp weapon or something like that, you could actually attempt to kill it outright by just throwing a weapon at it, which is the coup de grace. But you don't have one of those. That's just for reference purposes.
Okay, so that thing got away. Around Grimace, the Maven is trying to attack the other creature?
Yeah, so behind you. So if you turn around, there's the creature with Maven attacking it, and then you've got Aurora with a creature attacking. So there's a creature between you and Maven, and there's Aurora between you and the creature.
Okay, Grimace goes after the one that Aurora has, and what Grimace wants to do is use its body to jump on top of it and pin it with its hand.
Okay, so you do a charge effectively, and you're doing an effect attack, so it won't do damage, but sorry, it will do damage but you'll also get the effect of pinning it to the ground. So it's a base score. It's smaller than you, so don't have that. You will get drop from above because you'll leap up and be coming down on top of it. So that makes it 3. You have an ally, makes it 4. It attacked, which makes it 6. And there was one other one. What was it? No, that's it, 6. So d4s. You roll 2 d4s.
Okay, I got a 4 and a 3.
Okay, so you fail to pin it to the ground and you fail to injure it.
Can I use a token or something?
You can, yes. So you can re-roll.
Okay.
Or you can change the difficulty and then re-roll. So use it twice. So you would up it to difficulty. So you'd up it to combat score of 7, and that would then give you d2s, and you would then use another one to re-roll.
What was the first option?
So you can, if you did it now, you would have to use 2. So you can re-roll if you want. That just takes 1, or you can make it d2s and then roll again, but that costs 2.
Okay, I only want to use 1 token.
Okay, so re-roll the 4s.
Okay. Okay, and that's a 1 and a 2.
Okay, so you successfully land on this thing and pin it into the ground, doing 1 injury to you. This is the one with the red tattooed hands.
Okay. All you need is love, buddy. Let me give you some cookies. And it's going to be pinned for right now, but Grimace wants to, next action, try to use its body weight to pin it and get cookies out and force feed the cookies to the creature and stroke its head. If it can.
All right. So that brings us to Aurora.
Aurora will continue to swing her branch wildly at the creature, hoping that maybe she can do something to get it off her.
Okay, so you have a base score of 1. You have high ground still, which is 2. You now have 2 allies, which makes 4. And it attacked, that makes 6. So a d4s.
Okay, and I failed. So I'll just choose to fail miserably at this point.
Okay. So you swing with this branch and you fail to connect with the creature. And through the momentum and force that you use this, you actually do a full 360 and whack Grimace on the back of the head, breaking the branch and also doing 1 injury to Grimace. So Grimace, you take an injury. But Aurora, you earn a token. Doll.
Doll sees the people that it's been hanging out with in trouble and knows it's probably done something wrong by taking away the sickle. So in the chaos, Doll's gonna run up, take out the sickle, and then just kind of flop by Aurora so she could have a weapon.
Okay, so it's your movement and your action. So you basically move to her feet and then flop and drop the sickle.
Yep.
Okay. Mabon.
Mabon's going to try to pivot some more around, kind of just to disorient it, and so I'm not always in one space. Except this time, rather than continuing the same motion, I'm going to go back to the other side, and swing my hammer.
Do a physical check, difficulty 2. This is to attempt to. You basically want to get behind it again, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So you either use
Failed.
2 moves, which would be a whole turn, or you would basically try to get past it, and sort of it's like you do a fake attack and then get behind it and then attack it. Really. So did you succeed?
I failed on the physical check.
Okay. So you try to get past it, but it sort of blocks with this with its spear. So you can still attack.
Yeah, I want to attack.
Okay.
What would my roll be?
So yeah, your base score is 1. You are smaller than the opponent, makes 2. You are no longer on higher ground, but you do have 2 allies, so that makes 4. And the opponent attacked, which makes 6 is d4s.
D4s. All right. I hit.
Okay. So you bring your hammer down on top of this thing's head, which this is now the 2nd time it's been injured. This is the one with the scar. All right. So that one has to do an emotion check now.
For Dalton.
And it freaks out and starts running away as well. So that brings us to Grimace. So the final creature is just going to do an emotion check to see if it hangs around because its buddies have gone away. It does not. So it starts backing away from the battle. Grimace.
Okay, so I have the one pinned.
Sorry, that's the one on the ground. I apologize. It's freaking out. It wants to run away, but it can't because you've pinned it.
Okay. Shh, it's okay. Let me just stroke your head. It's okay. Like a baby kitten. Just go to sleep. It's okay. Calm down. And Grimace is just going to try to calm it down and try to give it, try to project love into this creature and harmony and happiness. And it's okay. Grimace sees this as a big, cuddly lizard creature thing that just needs to be loved.
All right. So an emotion check, difficulty 2. So that's D4s, and you roll 1 dice plus your number of bonuses.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So I got 1 in a 3.
Okay, so you succeed. So it's kind of calmed down a little bit. It's no longer sort of having the fight or flight response. It's kind of having the stay response.
I'm going to love you and kiss you and call you George. Okay.
All right, Aurora. So the other 2 have run away, and this last one is pinned to the ground by Grimace, who's also rubbing his head where he's just been cracked by the log.
Grimace looks like he's got this sort of under control. So Aurora will kind of pull herself together after her fanatical experience last round and let go of the stick, and then sees the sickle and picks it up, sort of confused about where that came from. But just kind of stands around waiting to see what Grimace does with the creature.
All right. So that brings us to Doll.
I think Doll's going to stay motionless for right now and see how the situation just kind of plays out.
Okay. Brings us to Mabon.
Mabon is probably just going to watch. There's no more fighting, right?
Yeah. So
It's
this final one.
I'm just gonna let the one run off, and I'm gonna watch her do her magic.
Okay. So the creature is kind of holding Grimace's hand that's pinned through his shoulder to the ground, and it's wide-eyed and it's going. Grimace.
Grimace remembers in the Oxanar culture that they don't normally grant mercy or anything to the creatures that they're attacking, but Grimace tries to do the right thing, and it remembers a mercy thing that they do, something of a choice for the creature to either love them and obey them or die. So Grimace kind of moves its head underneath the creature's neck, so its antler is almost piercing its jugular, and the creature then can make a choice whether to get impaled and kill itself or to submit and give Grimace love.
So do a social check, difficulty 2. So that's D4s.
Okay, it's 2.
All right. So do you want to use a story value token to succeed on that?
Yes.
Okay. So the creature is kind of enamored with this offer and wants to remain alive. So it kind of moves its neck away from the thing, but it understands your sort of token and is no longer struggling against your pin.
Okay. It's okay. It's safe. It's calm down. It is our friend now.
I'll give you a story value token for that.
Okay.
Aurora.
Aurora walks over to Grimace, seeing that the situation is sort of diffusing itself a little bit, and say to Grimace, well, what are we going to do with it? You're going to let it go, right?
So we move to Doll.
If Doll had a jaw, it would probably drop at this point, because this is just weird to the mimic who's pretending to be a doll right now.
So you would feel that these people may actually be okay with who you are, seeing as they've just shown so much love, caring, and attention to this creature that was attacking them. So that moves to Mabon.
Mabon is just floored by this and is not going to stand by this, and runs up with his hammer and smashes it right into the head of this thing.
So you kill it. So you basically
Yes.
brains splatter all over the ground.
And as I do it, I'm just picturing Percy and Darthaniel and just all these thoughts going through my head and how upset I am.
You son of a bitch!
Yeah, exactly. Now, I do have a question. The spears, were there stone heads?
No, we'll just say that they were sharpened sticks.
Okay, I won't worry about it then.
If you want to use one, you can, or just act like a normal spear.
No, if it was a stone head, I was going to take it as like a trophy.
Oh, okay. No. The startings of a serial killing dwarf blacksmith. Okay, so yeah, Grimace, you know, all your love, care, and attention, but this creature has been checked out, unfortunately.
I had it under control. I don't understand. It was my friend. Oh, I guess I'll have to give it the proper funeral, just like the horse. I'll have to cut off its hand, I guess, and make you a necklace of love and remembrance.
All right, so you start cutting off the hands and feet of this thing. Aurora.
Just a hand.
Oh, just the hand, sorry.
Just a hand.
As Grimace starts to cut off the hands, Aurora's just gonna back up and turn around because she's not gonna watch the hands being cut off, but at the same time is starting to think that maybe this is Grimace's thing, like he's gonna do this all the time, so she can't, you know, really impede too much on his tradition, and she's gonna go over and pick up the doll.
Okay.
Which was next to the
Grimace
sickle.
is not a savage, just a hand. A hand.
A hand, yep.
He's not it is not a savage, just one hand.
Yep. So, all right, so you go to pick up the doll. Do a mental check, difficulty 2.
I'll re-roll those.
Okay.
Can I use another story value point to change my 2 into a 1?
Yes, you can.
Okay, I will go ahead and do that then.
Okay, so you, as you're picking up the doll and you're standing up, you begin to recognize where you actually are in the mists as the mists shift around you. And you're sort of, you remember having walked these lands before, gathering heather and all kinds of other things. And you have some idea of the direction or where you think the fortress is. You haven't been there before, but you've seen it off very far in the distance.
Okay. I'll go ahead and say to everybody, guys, I think we really should get out of here. We need to head that way. And I'll point in the exact direction we need to go.
Okay. Doll.
Just, you know, that comfort of feeling and love and acceptance has been wiped whatsoever. And Doll Doll's eyes are just a little bit wider and kind of this, oh my god, if I do actually show who I am, I'm going to die. So, like, full limp mode now.
Okay.
We're just going to cut off your hand. It's no big deal.
Yeah,
Dude.
Only if you die and
crush the head, cough the hand. Yeah, that's everybody's dream come true.
Right.
Hey,
Maybe.
I only crushed the head of those who killed my friends. Anyways, hearing as I'm walking away after smashing its head, hearing her starting to hack into its hand and call it a friend, I stop and I turn around and there's blood from this creature all over me as I'm wiping my hammer on my tunic, the guts off of it. And I say, no friend of ours killed another friend of ours, okay? That is asinine. You are a moron. And then I turn back around and start walking in the direction of Aurora.
Okay. So, Grimace, are you going to follow the rest of them?
Grimace finishes up with the twine, but says, We don't know what the problem here was. It may not have been anything to do. The creatures might have been in the right. What I don't understand why they always take the other person's side and not the poor creatures. We don't know what the circumstances are.
All right.
Feels really bad. Starts crying as you know, spearing that hand and making a necklace. And it gives it to Aurora. Here, I think you'll appreciate this more than Maven would.
Do an emotion check, difficulty 2.
3.
So you rolled 1d4, was it?
Yep.
Do you have bonus in emotion?
Oh yeah, I do.
Yeah, so you rolled 2d4s.
1.
So you did get a 1?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Maven, you know, her emotional response to this makes you feel a little bit guilty for what you were just saying. And you kind of understand her position. It doesn't mean you have to act on it. It's just that your character feels that may be the more the correct way to go. But you don't have to do that if you don't want to. All right.
If you make a box, a square, that's 1 extra dice.
Correct.
Right?
Yes. Yeah.
So I made a square. So an emotion.
All right. So that means you next emotion check, you get another dice. So you'll be rolling 3. Okay. All right. So that brings us to so you're all now walking through the bog, and eventually the bog, the mists and everything. You get to the moor, which is a lot more stable. But there's lots of sort of pockets of pools of water, and you're walking over this kind of like thick grass and heading in the direction that Aurora felt was the right way. And after a few hours, as it begins to grow dark, you see on the horizon the sort of dark shape of this fortress rising above the horizon. Now, this is the furthest that any of you have ever been in this direction. You know that this area is not inhabited by any kind of settlement. Nothing is really known beyond this point. And it's, you know, so that sort of understanding of where you are sort of builds a little bit of dread in you, except for Grimace, because Grimace, this is kind of an area that he was used to, and where he actually arrived from, although the actual point of arrival is unknown. Okay, so that so as you're walking along and you see this this fortress that's getting closer and closer and closer, and as you arrive at the foot of this tower, the sun has basically set. Grimace.
Aurora, do you like the hand? The necklace? The Grimace is happy with this place. I mean, so it's just like, here's the hand of the fallen, the soul and the happiness.
All right, Aurora.
So, Aurora never wanted to offend Grimace, so she took the hand, but as they've been walking, she's kind of nonchalantly maybe dropped it at one point in time because she felt it was very maybe it wouldn't be the best thing. It freaked her out. But she didn't want to offend Grimace at all. So she doesn't really respond to Grimace's question, but instead she says to everybody, so do you think we should go through the front door? I mean, are these guys friendly? Does anybody know, what they're like? Do you think they're just going to invite us in? And she's kind of just playing through these different scenarios in which she thinks that they're going to be a very happy-go-lucky people who are excited to see us.
So with this going through your mind, as you approach the fortress, you realize that it's dilapidated and it's probably not actually been occupied in a very, very long time. The door is kind of rotten, is hanging on the hinges. It is shut. lots of bricks on the facade have kind of fallen out, and there is lots of sort of vines and things that have grown up the walls and that kind of stuff. So the hope of finding some friendly people kind of dissipates as you actually finally arrive at this place, which saddens you to a small extent.
Well, maybe they just live underground now or something.
All right, Doll.
On the way, if nobody was actually watching Doll and Doll saw that hand necklace fall, Doll would probably have caught it.
Okay, do a physical check, difficulty 3. It's D6s.
So D6s. Okay, I think I can do that. Maybe. Oh yeah, I actually rolled a 1. Woo!
All right. So yeah, you managed to you stick out your hand and quickly grab it and stash it in your chest. As
I actually probably ate it.
oh, okay. Well, you eat it. So, Grimace, you essentially, with walking along, essentially doing a quick rest. You, being the creature that you are, you're able to drink from the ponds that are, around. So you will actually be able to heal yourself that injury. So you'll be back to no injuries. All right, Mabon.
So in the walk over here, because Mabon felt a little guilty, he would explain to Grimace why that was so offensive to himself, and that those things killed our friends and, patrons of our businesses. And so therefore you don't honor them when they fall in battle. You let them rot. And he just explains it. And he says, I understand you're a little different, Grimace. So that was all discussed on the way here. Now, in response to Aurora, he says, I've read a great many of tales of dwarves who had a burglar that helped them break into a fortress like this. Unfortunately, we do not have a burglar. And that's it.
Okay. Do a mental check, difficulty 2.
Failed.
Okay. All right. Brings us back to Grimace.
I understand where you're coming from. Grimace looks at the dwelling in front of it. So it's dilapidated ruins. Is that what you said? Is a building with a door on the front?
Yeah. So it's kind of like a big fortress, quite a wide towered fortress.
You're talking like a gate with a fortress, like
it's just a tower, so it's more like an outpost. But you wouldn't really know anything about military strategy or why they would build a structure like this. To you, it's just a big tall building.
All right, so like Skyrim, like a just building, just like a tower. All right. So Grimace knocks on the door and tries, hello, is anybody home? I have some cookies for you.
Dong, dong, dong. You can hear the wood echoing through the tower. Bits and pieces of the wood kind of splinter off the door. And the hinges kind of like crack a little.
Oh,
Aurora.
That happens.
Well, if the hinges sort of crack, I mean, does it create an opening that we'd be able to walk through, or?
Yeah, there's no one would be able to fit through the small sort of slithers or cracks.
Okay. I'll actually just reach out to the door and maybe see if it's already open or unlocked, if we can just walk right in.
Okay, so you investigate the door and you realize that you give it a bit of a push, and it's barred from the other side. But giving it a push, you kind of realize with enough force, you probably would actually be able to push the door down because it's so old.
Okay, I'll say, hey guys, help me out with this. And I'll kind of put my shoulder against the door to try and push it as hard as I can.
Okay, so you can do a physical check, and each person that helps you gives you an extra dice.
Okay.
Now, no one gets experience if this succeeds. All right. So what is your physical at the moment? You got 1 plus your bonus.
yeah.
Do you have a bonus?
I just have a +1 bonus.
Okay, so you have 2 dice, and who's helping her?
Well, if
Is
she wants
there-
it open, we can just use the giant, Grimace's hand. But Grimace would want to listen to see if anybody responded to the, I have cookies. Is anybody want any?
You haven't heard any response yet.
And why do we want to get in the tower?
Because that's where the
You tell me
guy
why you want to get into the tower.
That's where Danton told us to go.
Yeah,
I thought
that's
you said ruins.
That's what Derek wanted us to do, okay?
Dalton, Derek, Danton, Douglas.
D-Dog.
That old guy.
D-Dog.
That
The
old
dude that
dead guy.
died.
Yeah,
That died
guy.
in scene 3.
He said
D-Dog
we
Dad
needed
told
to
us
go.
come here.
He said we needed to go to the ruins in the Moor to take it to the Brotherhood. I don't know about you, but these kind of look like ruins to me.
Unless
So-
we pass by another set of ruins,
I would think this looks like a watchtower or a tower, not like ruins. I mean, like Grimace is from a plane that had ruins. I would think like rocks and things with ancient symbols on it. Things that you would find in the demon culture. This doesn't look like ruins to Grimace.
Okay.
But
This
if you
looks
want
like
the
ruins to a dwarf. The dwarf would go, no, this is what my old place supposedly looks like, that runs in my family. But I don't know. I've never been there. Just read
So-
about it.
Question is, who's helping me push on the door?
Well, I have a
Anybody?
question. Can I add weight to Aurora, like to help her, or would that
Essentially,
not be-
you would be changing your internal chemistry to become stone. But the only way you'd actually be able to do it, because it's physical exertion rather than weight.
Yeah.
He could throw his body weight.
Just throw myself against the door. How did that happen?
You can kind of like surreptitiously climb down and push. So is anyone going to help?
Grimace will help her knock down the door, but not really knowing why she really wants it open.
Okay.
Oh, Maven would totally help because
Okay.
he
So
wants
you
to get
roll
revenge.
an extra 2 dice then.
So what dice am I rolling though? You
It's
didn't tell
difficulty 3, so you're going to be rolling d6s.
me. Okay. Oh, I totally did it.
So the whole door just collapses inside. Some of the masonry and bricks falls down off the siding of the door. The keystone kind of slips a little bit in the archway of the door. This place is obviously crumbling. You
Clearly
notice
it's
it.
elven made.
Sorry?
Clearly it's elven made.
So you notice at the back of the tower is basically there's a big hole. So and then there's a stairway going up in the tower to the other levels. Out the back, you can see some of the walls that were left from the rest of the structure. Essentially, the tower is all that is left of a much larger building. Dull.
Dull from their position is gonna case the joint, make sure there's other exits other than this one, because that's usually important.
Do a senses check, difficulty 2.
2, so that's D4s.
Yep.
Nada.
Nothing? Okay. All right. Maven. Give me
Maven's does Aurora look like an adequate combatant? I mean, obviously Aurora had a stick last time, but is Aurora like seem better than me?
The way that you were both handling yourselves, you knew how the weapon worked, but you're not exactly trained.
Right.
You just have an innate ability to swing the thing, and you sense that that's essentially where she's at.
So, being that I've read a lot of tales, I'm a big reader. I would probably be a little bit afraid of this place, but I wouldn't want anyone to know it. So I'd probably just kind of stay in between everybody without, getting too far ahead or off to the side or anything. I'd stay near everybody.
Okay. Grimace.
Grimace tests the weight of the stairs with Grimace's weight, so to see if the stairs would hold Grimace.
Yes. So on a cursory examination, the stairs are, to your thinking, are fine.
Okay,
If you
and
want
there's
to
only
do more, if you want to do more of a structural analysis, then it would be a check.
Okay, is it only one way up and a back door that leads just right back outside, or is it
it's not really a door, it's just a big hole.
Okay, so the hole just leads back into the bog. It doesn't lead into
there's like a lawn almost of long grass that clearly that was another part of the building that had collapsed long ago, and is now rotted away the roof, and there's only a few stones left scattered about. So it was obviously a much larger castle or something, but this is all that's left.
Oh, we didn't even have to bust down the door. We could have just walked in the back. Do you want to go up or just walk through the rest of the fortress?
Aurora.
Aurora's gonna look down at the symbol that Danton drew on her dress, and she's gonna kind of look around and see if she can find that symbol maybe somewhere. Maybe it's some sort of trigger or something. And as she does this, she's gonna call out and say that Danton sent us here and we need your help, thinking that maybe there's something hidden, or this is sort of like a mystical place or something like that maybe it would help trigger somebody to come out and help them.
So you, through your sort of quick examination, you don't see any symbols of any kind. There are obviously bricks missing from parts of the wall. As you call out, it sort of echoes up into the rafters and upper levels of this tower, and you hear almost like a pigeon, and then flapping of wings as it's disturbed by you. Doll.
So Mabin's acting a little funny. Can I tell if he's scared or not?
You can do an emotion check, difficulty. Have you got a rank in emotion yet, Mabin? No? Okay, yeah, so difficulty 1.
Difficulty 1. Where's my emotions? Oh, okay.
You mean like a bonus?
No,
emotion?
ranks. So
I'd made one success on it.
Oh, okay, yeah. If you'd filled in a whole square, then no, you haven't.
No.
Yeah, that's a 1.
Okay, so yes, you know that he's trying to hide fear.
I think
not dread, just basic fear.
Yeah, if Mabin's the only one looking at Doll for even a split second, Doll's gonna blink.
Okay. So that brings us to Mabin. So Mabin, do a so you're obviously doing this quite obviously.
I would have saw it probably too.
Yeah.
I was already thinking that like maybe Mabin was gonna want to try and reach out and hold the doll, for comfort. But
we won't do a check because you want to do it so deliberately. So you see the doll do that. Its face moves as well.
I feel like I would be. I don't know if I would think that it's like voodoo or that maybe I'm dehydrated from this day of travel and everything, but I don't think that I would realize that's real. And so I would even it'd be very obvious. I'd be like, and I'd kind of take a step back and keep looking. Like now I'm staring very intently focused, tunnel vision on the doll, waiting for it to do something else.
All right. So you can do a mental check, difficulty 1. Okay, so you are convinced that it actually did wink at you.
Whoa!
We'll move on to Grimace.
What is going on, Maven? I don't understand. What are you looking at the doll for?
So do you want to like do anything or just chat to him?
I would just chat. I mean, structure. I guess I can move up and wait. Aurora, you were looking for a symbol, right? Okay, so I would just chat to him.
Okay, so you kind of moving up the stairs and kind of talking sideways to him as you go, that sort of thing.
Yep, that'll work.
Okay, so that brings us to Aurora.
Seeing Mabon upset, she's gonna kind of try and take his arm and guide him over to one of the stairs so he can have a seat. And she'll say, "Just sit here and calm down. Everything's gonna be fine. We'll figure out this brotherhood thing. Don't worry about it. Just take a break for a second. I know sometimes the outdoors can be exhausting for people, especially if you're not used to it. So just have a seat here, calm down." And then she's gonna leave his side and she's gonna continue to look really intently for the symbol, or maybe even something else that would look out of place, like it doesn't really belong here, whether it was like a creature or like an artifact or something like that, or like if there were bricks that were super clean and other ones were dirty, that type of thing.
So do a social check, difficulty 1.
Yes, I made that.
So Mabon, you are convinced that she means you well and that you should be calming down, but you react according to how you wish to react. When you're looking around the structure, you don't see anything that looks out of place in terms of this sort of ruined fortress. So the whole thing kind of looks out of place, but there's nothing individualistic that points to something has been here or anything to that extent. It's been abandoned for a very long time. So that brings us to Doll.
So the symbol on her dress is a circle with 2 points on it.
Yeah, so he basically drew a circle and then he marked 2 points on the edge of the circle in blood.
Is there any way to mentally compare where the door is accordingly to the other spot?
Yes, do a mental check, difficulty 7.
Difficulty 7. That's 20s, isn't it?
Yep.
Okay. No.
Okay. So no, there is not. Okay. So that brings us to Mabon.
Yeah, when she had me sit down, I grabbed the doll, and he probably can't check because I'm too busy poking him, trying to figure out like I obviously know that was real. I saw that. I'm assuming the eyes are like painted on or something. So I'm trying to figure out how that is actually possible. And I look at the chest. Is the marking still on the chest?
Yeah. So the
it's voodoo.
Yeah, the markings are still there. Because he hasn't. Did you change? You haven't changed shape at all, have you?
No, not at all.
Okay.
Kept the markings and everything.
So the markings are still there. So his eyes are carved there and they're painted over with like this peeling white paint. The beard that you once knew has disappeared. So it's kind of like, it's almost like the beard has been sheared off and there's sort of new wood underneath, but the new wood
has been whittled away.
Yeah, it's just over time, it's grayed. So, it's clearly this wooden doll.
I'm poking it in the eyes, like with my hand.
I mean, it feels like wood. It reacts like wood. You poke it and its arms flap up, and it's yeah.
And Grimace can hear me just saying it's voodoo. It's witchcraft. And I'm just poking it.
All right,
it's probably creeping her out a little.
Grimace.
It's okay to have infatuation with dolls, I guess. If that's what you people do, I don't know. But It's a love doll now, I guess. I mean, it was blessed by the insect creatures, and it had the love tokens, and Grimace is just muttering and climbing the stairs closer to the
Okay.
top.
So you emerge to the first level, and there once was a door here that has basically fallen off, and part of the wall and everything is collapsed in. There's just stones everywhere. The furniture that was in this area is basically just rotten through. The beams are barely holding up the floor. So as you're walking along, the floorboards are creaking under your feet. That brings us to Aurora.
Okay. I'm going to kind of because the symbol's on my dress, I'm going to kind of lift it up and keep turning around until I can figure out if there's anything that kind of matches up with the symbol.
Okay, do a mental check, difficulty 7, which is d20s.
Yeah, that's a no.
Okay, yeah, so unfortunately you cannot make head or tail of what this is. Okay, that brings us to Doll.
Doll is kind of itching to see what's upstairs, but he's now in the hands of the murderer who, killed what became an innocent creature. So Doll's a little afraid right now, and just kind of tries to stay as still as physics will let Doll stay still.
Okay. All right, so that brings us to Mabon.
Clearly my nickname is Physics, and I'm bending. I'm just gonna, until something happens, I'm pretty much infatuated with the doll. Just doing
okay. So you absentmindedly are following Grimace up the stairs, and just manipulating the limbs on this thing and bashing it against the wall, you think about licking it to see if it tastes any different, but then think better of it. So that brings us to Grimace.
Okay, so on the first landing, it's just a landing, correct? So there's nothing there on the stairs?
Yeah, so there's more stairs that head up to the next level.
Mabon, Aurora, come up here. Let's see what we have up here. You can keep the doll if you want. I don't mind. And that's it. Just continues to climb the stairs.
Okay, Aurora.
So the stairs that they're climbing, is there some sort of? I understood that, as you had explained it, that there was just basically like an opening, like a hole to the back.
Yeah. So there's the door. There's the door you came in, and then directly opposite that is a big hole. And then up the side, like to the left, is a stairway going up the wall to the next level.
Okay, so there's stuff up on the next level.
Yes.
Okay. I didn't completely understand that. Okay, so then I will go ahead and start to hearing, that Grimace and Grimace and Mabon have made it a great deal of the way up, and I'm kind of hanging out here down by myself, and I haven't gotten anywhere. I'll go ahead and head up there as quickly as I can to kind of catch up and see if they've found anything.
Okay, so you scamper up the stairs, you come to this next level where there's all this dilapidated furniture and fallen walls and all that kind of stuff, and you can see them heading up the stairs. Mabon is poking this doll, and Grimace is kind of looking around as it climbs the stairs. You can do a senses check, difficulty 2. Which is D4s.
Oh, I made it, actually.
Oh, okay. Sorry. You notice on one of the walls there's like a board against the wall, and there's like a corner of a tapestry that's behind this board, this rotting sort of table that's been upturned. It sort of piques your interest.
Okay.
So that brings us to Doll.
Doll's going to try to observe their surrounding just to see if they can pick up anything else, despite Mabon constantly poking and rattling it.
So you won't need to do a check for this, but you'll know that because of the way that the wall is built and all this kind of thing, it'll be very easy for you to climb. If you were to escape, you'd be able to climb up these walls very rapidly because there's lots of handholds and footholds and things like that. In terms of anything else that's noticeable, you can do a senses check, difficulty 2.
Okay. I passed.
Okay, so you also notice the thing that Aurora saw with the sort of tapestry sticking out. But up the stairs, you also notice that you're coming to a door that's still in place.
I think I'll take this opportunity to like blink once more, so Mabin will stop.
Okay. So Mabin, it's your turn. This doll has just winked at you again.
Did you see that? Look! Did you see that? Not realizing it, Mabin is not scared anymore because he's so distracted by this. It's done what he intended for it to do originally, and now he's like shaking them, like, look, Grimace, and like, Aurora, come here, look, like, and just standing there and like showing them, like, you gotta look.
All right.
I'm trying to
Grimace.
convince them it's real.
So Grimace.
Look at the doll. I see the doll. And how close are you to Grimace? Like,
She's right behind you.
oh, Grimace reaches out with one of its pointy razor fingers and just pokes at it. It's the doll.
Aurora
Aurora.
looks at Mabin and calmly says, I'm glad that the doll's making you feel better. And then she walks over to the tapestry corner that she had kind of noticed to sort of inspect it and see what's going on over there.
Okay, so you look behind the sort of upturned table with no legs, and it's definitely covering some old rotten tapestry. And it looks like there's some sort of symbols and things on it, but you can't really tell what it is because of the board.
Oh, I'll pull the board off then.
Okay, so it doesn't take much. The board basically collapses into planks on the ground, revealing this large tapestry with it's basically the map of the world. And so you are on the eastern side of a ring continent that has another continent in the center. So it's like a circle with a dot in the center. And so there's no names or anything on it, but there are these symbols, these 12 symbols that are located around the ring continent. You would know from your travels that where you are sort of on this ring, and there is a symbol there. And you can do a mental check, difficulty 1.
Oh, I made it.
So one of those symbols you recognize from that spike that this creature had. The insect creature. All right. That brings us to Doll.
Doll is hearing discoveries down the stairs, and Doll is still in, I just forgot our dwarf's name. Anyways, Mabin. I was going to say Maybelline, but I knew that was not correct.
Maybe it's Maybelline.
So Doll's going to try to look naturally as he slips out of Mabin's hand and rolls down the stairs.
Okay. Let's do a physical check.
I'm looking dead at him.
I thought Grimace was poking at you.
The physical check would be 7.
So that's a 20. Okay. Oh,
Yeah,
Random
Grimace is
gods.
poking him.
I know you got a razor blade finger in your gut, and
So he wants to pull it off.
Oh, so close. I have a 2.
You
You
can
should
change
just
it to a
epically
1.
fail.
Yeah, I'm just gonna take the epic fail there, and
You rolled a 2. You can convert that to a 1 to succeed.
I like the epic fail.
You know, yeah, I kind of want to see what an epic fail does. Actually,
Okay, all right. So you attempt to do this like shimmy wriggle to kind of, make it seem like he's got slippery fingers and it falls out. Unfortunately, the way your chemistry works, you kind of jiggled the wrong part of your brain, and you turn into this like weird box. It's like a inlaid box with all kinds of like pictures of tortoises and unicorns, and it has like a weird metal clasp that's in the shape of like a rat skull, and yeah, that's essentially what appears in Mabon's hands.
oh god,
Mabon.
the last thing I stole.
Yeah, and inside is the hand
The sickle.
and the sickle. Oh, no, you dropped the sickle. You dropped the sickle.
No, I
Okay.
got the
That-
sickle back. Yeah.
Yeah, it would probably be the hand and the dagger.
Yeah, there's like a hand, a hand and a
It's
dagger.
a partially eaten hand.
A partially eaten, nibbled hand as the lid flips open.
See? Voodoo! Since it's my turn, I'm just like, look, I told you. And I just back up. Like, that is not my doll. Something with that thing in the chest. Something did that.
Grimace.
doll, is that you? Are you a good doll or a bad doll? I don't understand. You might be a creature of some sort, doll.
Aurora? So you hear this
Um,
commotion. You haven't seen the transformation.
Aurora is very interested in this tapestry and is just kind of ignoring their conversation over there. And so she is going to look, when she's looking at the map, one of the positions that he marked on the symbol that he drew is where we are. What's the other one? What's the other spot that he marked?
So if you're using that as a basis of comparison, it's literally on the other side of the world.
Okay, but is there a symbol there?
So if you're at 3 o'clock, it would be at 11, and it's between two symbols.
Okay, and were those either of the two symbols that were on the spike?
No, only the one where you are is on the spike.
Okay. All right. I'm gonna get the spike out and
Okay.
start looking at where the symbol is on the spike in relationship to the map, and just kind of take a look at that.
All right, Doll.
If Doll can turn back into Doll and then run down the stairs, that would be great.
Yeah, you don't need to do anything to change back. So you can do that,
Yep.
but
And
you've got to leap out of his hands. So that's just a physical check, difficulty 2.
okie dokie. Okay, I passed that one.
So you leap out of his hands and start pacing down the stairs. Mabon.
I jump on top of him. Even if it makes me go tumbling down, I
Okay.
jump right on top of it.
So do you have a physical rank yet?
I have
Paul?
a normal 1 in it.
No,
but
I'm
I
talking
haven't
to
done
Paul.
anything.
Yes,
Oh, my.
yes, I actually finally have a rank in physical.
Okay, so that means your difficulty is now going to be 3. Lee, in order to check for that.
Okay. I'm going to use my last point to force the 2 to succeed.
Okay, so you basically dive down the stairs, landing on your ribs, and it's almost winding you, but you grab his little wooden leg as he's scurrying away. Grimace.
Grimace is watching what they're doing and just kind of like, don't hurt the little creature. It is not as bad. It might be good. We don't know. Be nice. Just give it a hug. It might be okay.
All right, do an emotion check, difficulty 2.
Motion check. Okay, so 3
So
dice.
D4s.
Yep. There's a 1 in there.
Okay, so Grimace is calming you down, Mabon. So even though you've got this thing's foot in your hand, you don't feel compelled to bash it or anything. But yeah, but you can obviously act on it as you wish. All right, so that brings us to Aurora. So you've been examining this map, and you can't really make head or tail of to whether this matches up in any way from any of the points. It doesn't look like anything kind of, is where it should be.
Okay, how large is this tapestry?
I would say it's probably about 7 or 8 foot tall by about another 5 or 6 foot wide.
Wow. Okay. I am going to Aurora's thinking that on their way out from exiting this place, she is probably going to take that tapestry with her, but doesn't want to carry it around for the rest of the time she's exploring. So she's going to go back to the stairs where Grimace and Mabon was anyway. And I mean, as she comes across, and looks down the stairs, and Mabon is chasing and falling over this little doll, she's just going to kind of look at Grimace and look at Mabon and just keep walking up the stairs.
So the fact that the doll is trying to pull away and is actually walking around, are you reacting in any way to that or not?
I mean, she's sort of surprised a little bit, but at the same time, Mabon's been talking about how it's like this evil voodoo doll. So it seems like, I mean, he grabbed it. He's got it under control. So she's not going to worry too much about it. He seems to have it together. Right. So
and this is kind of, you've dealt with these kind of like weird creatures before. So, Grimace is a friend of yours. You're kind of used to weird and wonderful.
Right. Aurora's a very nonchalant type of, person. She's not gonna worry about it. It's not hurting her. It's fine. Everything's okay. So she just really wants to figure out this brotherhood thing and the symbol, and she's just very into that at this moment.
Okay. Doll.
Doll's gonna start frantically signaling toward the tapestry. Yeah. Ah!
So you are signing and pointing.
Yep.
Okay. Mabon.
Mabon checks his character sheet and does not know sign language. So Mabon, damn, I don't know what Mabon does. I really have no idea. I toss the doll over at Aurora, forcing her to take note of what the hell is going on.
Okay. Grimace.
Don't toss the creature. It could be a good creature. We don't know yet. Be nice. Give it love. Give it time to talk to us. We don't know. It's pointing at the tapestry. What is that? And Grimace just looks.
Aurora.
Aurora tries to catch the doll and kind of fumbles it a little bit, but looks at Grimace and says that the tapestry is like a map of the world, and I was trying to see if the symbol lined up, but I can't figure it out. Maybe the doll knows something. And she'll actually walk the doll over to the tapestry and sort of like hold it up and say, is there something you want to show us?
Right. Doll.
I know this has been done, but Doll hasn't done it. Compare the dots on the dress to the tapestry, but also rotate its head so it can actually, like, look at the map upside down too. Take it from all angles.
Sure. So you also find out that doesn't relate to that. So she's
Awesome.
asked you a question. Do you want to sign a response?
Yeah. Oh gosh, what was this question? I got a goldfish memory.
It was, is there something you want to show us?
There was something upstairs, wasn't there?
Yes, there's a door upstairs.
Yeah. And kind of point up and make a, like, people going up the stairs symbol.
You can actually talk to her as though you're conversing because she will understand your sign language.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Let's go upstairs. There's a door.
All right. So, Maven.
Now that she's got it, I'm staying at the stairs where I threw him from, and I'm just along the ride right now. I'm blown away that my childhood doll is freaking alive. This is the coolest shit ever.
All right. Grimace.
Okay, so Grimace looks at the doll and Aurora and then looks up and, oh, you want us to go up, little doll? Okay. So starts to walk up.
Okay, so you come to this door that's there. This door has survived a little bit better, but there is a hole in the wall next to it. So you'd have to kind of do a little bit of a shimmy around to try to climb through the hole, or you can attempt to open the door. It's up to you.
Grimace tries the knob of the door and sees if it opens or just pushes on it. And
it doesn't have a knob. It's kind of almost like it would have been locked from the other side.
Push, pull, knock, and then...
You may be able to, because the masonry and everything on the one side is gone, you may be able to just force it down, but it would be a significant amount of force.
Okay, Mallet of Love for the win.
Okay. It will be difficulty 4 physical check.
Difficulty 4. Okay.
So that's D8s.
D8s. Okay, I got a 6.
Okay. Yeah, so it's far too difficult to push the door down. All right, so it brings us to Aurora.
Okay, Aurora will try and shimmy through the hole that's created there and see if she can get through that. She's still holding on to the doll very gently.
Okay. The difficulty is 2.
And what was it? A physical?
Physical,
okay. Yeah. Okay, I succeeded.
All right, so you managed to like wrap one of your legs around, and you're kind of holding onto the wall, and then pull your other leg around, and you've put the doll on your back. You have the doll, so you have the doll's kind of hanging onto your back at the moment. So that brings us to Doll.
Since we're on the other side of the door, Doll's going to drop down. And is it just easy to open from this side, or do we still have to unlock it?
Yeah, it's locked, but there's no key or anything.
Well, sounds like the burglar needs to pick a lock.
Okay. So you can basically shape change to create a key that fits the lock. So it would be a difficulty 1 spell.
Okay.
So you basically like put your finger or your hand in the thing and just sort of mold it in and be able to twist. The number of dice is equal to your ranks in energy. So D2s, you roll 3 of them.
Okay. D2s, I roll 3 of them. I succeed.
Okay, so now you just got to check if you run out of energy. So you roll a single D6 on a 1. You successfully run out of energy.
I rolled a 1 on that one too.
So yeah, so you can no longer shape change until you do a short rest. But yeah, you easily open the door. So because you've run out of energy, you get 1 energy point experience. So you just fill in the next little section of the 4th rank in energy.
Cool.
Okay, so that brings us to Mabon.
So Mabon's remembering when his mother told him he was crazy when he swore that the doll was alive, and how it forced him at a very young age for even dwarves to have to start working as a blacksmith for his father, and that's why he's so good now at making nails. And so Mabon will go up, and he's just in awe watching this little thing work its magic on this door. Like, he's kind of starting to really warm up to it. Like, my friend is real.
I'm going to give you a story value token. All right. And brings us back to Grimace.
Okay, so the door is now unlocked.
Door's unlocked, so you can freely walk through it.
See, the doll is okay. It is a friend. Little doll, do you want to maybe put on my shoulder? Picks the doll up. Is it a puddle or a key, or what is the doll shape?
It defaults back to the doll. Well, do you want to remain with a key hand?
No. I wouldn't just seem like a doll and not seem like I'm gonna poke their eyes or anything.
Okay.
Okay,
All right.
so the creature puts doll on top of its head so it can hang on to the antler or horns if it wants to.
All right. Aurora?
What's on the other side of the door?
So it's quite a dark room. There are no actual windows, but enough light is coming through the hole that you can kind of dimly make out that there's another stairwell going up, but there's a lot of stored armor and weaponry in here that has basically rusted to a point of almost non-use. But what you can each do is you can find a weapon that's suitable to your character, because there's enough lying around to choose from.
Okay. I'll see a sorry. A bow lying around, and I'll go ahead and grab that and then continue sort of up the stairs, looking back to kind of keep an eye on the doll a little bit to make sure it's not gesturing in any way or trying to indicate anything to us.
Sure. The bow, just for a reference, has an AV, which is ammo value of 5. So you find an old quiver of arrows as well.
Okay.
All right. So doll.
Well, if it's easy to find weapons of our proficiency, doll's probably gonna do a little like shimmy dance on top and basically sign, oh, hey, there's a shiny I want. There's something shiny. I need it.
Yeah, you can basically choose anything. It doesn't necessarily have to be a weapon of your proficiency, but obviously one of your proficiency would be better in terms of usage.
Yeah, I think a dagger, because daggers are nice and sneaky.
Cool. And Mabon.
So two things I would like to do. I would like to tell Doll, when he switched back, did the markings come off of his chest
Yes,
too?
there's no more markings on his chest.
Okay, then I'm definitely warmed up to the idea. I will tell him if he wants to ride on my shoulders anytime, he is more than willing to. And I want to look for a pickaxe and a battle axe.
Okay, you find both of those.
Of dwarven make.
Oh, well, they wouldn't be dwarven made, but you will find both of them.
Okay, I'll take them then, still.
Yeah. Okay, so Grimace.
Can I just get a power up in claw or mallet?
Yep. So you want a second mallet, or do you want like you could put
I mean, Grimace's whole thing is like it kneads the dough with the mallet in its hand and cuts the dough with its scissors claw thing.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really care about weapons.
You can find either a helmet or a piece of armor if you wanted to.
Is there something that goes with an apron?
You could have some chainmail over the top of it.
Okay, we'll go with chainmail. A
Okay.
gauntlet? Yeah, a gauntlet.
A
No.
gauntlet. You could strap a gauntlet to the end of the club fist or something.
How about a gauntlet look on my three thing? They only have 3 fingers and they're long. I don't think a gauntlet's gonna fit.
You can just rip off 2 fingers and use.
Nah. This character wasn't built for weapons.
All right.
It is a weapon. I'll take I guess, chain. No, it's not even gonna fit it though.
You're size 7, aren't you? Yeah, it probably won't fit you.
Nothing would fit it.
Yeah.
Is there something that I can use as a baking tool and also double as a weapon in an armory?
Baking tool. You might find a cleaver or something.
Cleaver works.
Yep.
I fancy myself a new cleaver.
Let me just check. I think I've got cleaver. So it will be slashing. And it will have the cleave effect.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay. Alrighty. Okay, that brings us to Aurora.
I started heading up the stairs after grabbing the bow. Do those stairs seem about as solid as the other ones were? Are they in different shape? Okay.
No, they're about the same shape as the other ones.
Okay. I'll just go ahead and head up there, just still aware of my surroundings, looking at the walls, seeing if there's anything interesting there.
Okay, so this opens up to the top of the building where the roof is kind of rotted. There's a lot of parts of the wooden roof that's missing. And there's big holes, which some are windows, some are just holes that have appeared. And off to one side is this stone sarcophagus. And there's nothing else in the room except there is this sort of ornate ring of stones that is in the center of the floor. And it's divided up into 12 segments, and the stones are slightly different colored with symbols on them. So that brings us to Doll.
So there's a circle, that's stone, at the top here with different symbols.
Mm-hmm.
Is there one specifically near the stairs or at the stairs, or one that looks a little different from the rest?
So they all are strange to you. You've never seen this kind of writing or symbology before, and it's arranged kind of like a clock. So if you're entering, let's say the 7 o'clock is closest to you.
Yeah. Doll will just sign, hey, look at the ground. There's symbols.
Okay.
And, yeah.
As you approach the stones, you notice that in the middle of these symbols, there is kind of like a colored rock that's kind of embedded in there, but it looks like it's slightly loose.
Is it shiny?
No, it is not shiny, but it is definitely a colored rock.
That is different.
So that brings us to Mabon.
So Mabon, looking at this and seeing that it's round and stuff, thinks to the marking on the dress, and tries to figure out if it resembles the dress whatsoever.
Okay, so you kind of walk around this thing, and remembering the dress, there probably would be 2 points that would be congruent with that. However, to know how it's oriented is very difficult, so you wouldn't know kind of which would be one and which would be the other. So any one of them could be that sort of matching. Do a senses check difficulty 7, which is D20s.
14. Nope.
Okay, so that brings us to Grimace.
Okay, did you vocalize what you're looking for, Maven? No.
I'm
All
just
right.
trying to match it to the symbol on the dress.
That's probably what Grimace would have done too.
Okay.
But Grimace is gonna vocalize. Maybe the symbol on the markings might match up with the cats. Might match up. Sorry, hold on.
That's right.
Isn't that like automatic success DMG because of cats?
Yeah, cats for the win.
They're gonna break it.
All right, so you can also do a senses check, but your difficulty will be 6.
It's a D20.
D12.
Okay. 4.
Okay, so unfortunately you don't sense anything. Doll.
Oh, what about me?
Oh, sorry, Aurora.
That's okay. Sorry, I just have an idea, so I'm like,
That's all right.
okay, so the symbol on the tapestry that indicated where we were, which matched the symbol on the spike, is that in one of the symbols on the clock?
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to use that with the position that it coordinated to with the symbol on my dress to figure out what is the other symbol. So I'm going to use that symbol to orient it so I know what the other symbol is.
Okay, do a
That makes
mental
sense.
check difficulty 1.
I made it.
Okay, so you know how it's supposed to be oriented. You found the symbol that you recognized, and you, according to the way it's illustrated on your dress, you know where the other one is in relation. So that brings us to Doll.
Yeah, so Doll's probably putting two and two together. Do the symbols like press in or anything, or is it just solid stone?
So you kind of tap it with your foot, and it's solid stone. The only thing that looks like it could move are the little colored rocks that are in the center of the symbols.
Oh, there's multiple colored rocks?
Yeah, so each one of the 12 segments has a little colored rock on it.
Take the one out next to the symbol that we're coordinating with the symbols on the dress.
So you try to lift it out, and it sort of gives a little, but it's almost like it's magnetic. And the more you pull, the more difficult it is to try to extract it. That brings us to Maven. Sorry. First, Aurora, you need to do a senses check difficulty 5. And Doll, you need to do a senses check difficulty 4.
I didn't make it. I'm going to try and re-roll that, though.
Was it a D10 you were rolling?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. If you want.
No.
No. Doll? Yours, which will be a D8. You're muted, so I can't hear you if you're talking.
Yeah, I just realized that actually. Nope.
Nope.
Not even close.
So that brings us to Maven.
Maven's stumped, so he's gonna go back and look at the armor and just see if, like, what kind of make is it? Is it human, elvish?
It's probably human, from what you can tell. It's not the kind of stuff you would have made, because it's not ornate enough. It's kind of that garish human looking, just slapped together without any kind of style.
Does it look ancient?
Oh, it's old.
I want a helmet.
Okay.
I want a very old helmet, the oldest one I can find.
All right. So you go downstairs, but first do a senses check difficulty 3.
I'm going to use my point to make the 2 a success.
Okay. From the sarcophagus, you hear a knocking. So we move to Grimace.
Can you paint the picture again? I'm sorry.
Okay, so you're sort of at the top level of this thing. There are some windows and some holes where there may have been windows before. The roof is kind of dilapidated and collapsing, and there's lots of shards of light. Well, you can see the stars in the sky, and the moonlight is kind of coming through and mildly illuminating the central ring. And off to one side is this old stone sarcophagus.
Is that being illuminated?
It's kind of half in the moonlight.
And what's going on with your sarcophagus? It's moving or making noise?
At the moment, you haven't sensed anything.
Oh, okay. Okay. I don't know. Are we still looking for the dress markings?
All right. Do your senses check difficulty 2.
Okay. Pass.
All right. So you also hear the knocking coming from the coffin, the sarcophagus. Sorry.
Maybe we should leave. It's not
Aurora.
The symbol that we identified as the correct symbol that Dal tried to pick up, is that symbol on the sarcophagus at all?
No. There on the side of the sarcophagus, there's no symbols at all. And it looks like there's nothing on the top either, but you can't really see. And it looks like it was never actually here originally. It kind of was placed here later. From a cursory examination, it's kind of not as old as the structure.
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna try and push the symbol in. Dal tried to pick it up. I'm gonna try and push it in and see if anything happens.
So the symbols, the stones that have the symbol on them, that doesn't depress or anything. The only thing that sort of moves is the colored rock in the middle. When you try to pick it up, the harder you pull, the more difficult it is to lift it. So you can't actually pull it out of the little sort of groove that it's in. However, do a mental check difficulty 2.
Oh, I made it.
Okay, so you figure out, you try to flip the rock, and the rock actually changes, and out of the corner of your eye, you see all the other rocks that looks like they all flipped.
So when I flipped the rock with the symbol,
yeah,
all the rest of them flipped?
So the rock is a colored rock in the middle of the symbol, and you flip it over, and all the other rocks flipped at the same time.
Are there any symbols on the back, or are they just blank?
No, it's just a colored rock. So the rocks are all slightly different colors. So
Okay.
that brings us to Dol.
Dal wants to try to have the rock kind of in an in-between state, so it's up and down instead of flat.
Okay. So when you move the rock, it sort of undoes the changes that Aurora did, and all the rocks kind of like almost stand up on end.
I'm gonna signal to Aurora, hold it.
All right. Brings us to Mabon.
So the sarcophagus is rocking.
Is knocking.
Or knocking, sorry.
Yep. It's steadily getting louder.
I don't know what to do about it. I think Mabon would move away from it. I think he would. I think he would back up because he's not like used to this. So he'd probably move towards the stairs.
Okay. Grimace.
So these stones that they found, does Grimace see those, or are those someplace else?
No, they're parts of the ring. So each symbol has a stone in the middle of it, and you've basically seen them manipulating them.
Okay. Grimace sits on the lid of sarcophagus and knocks back, but does kind of like the 3 knocks and a handshake thing.
Sure. So you go.
It's
And then
waiting
there's
for
like,
the.
there's a pause, and then there's like a rapid 2 knocks back.
Oh, it wants to come out, guys. It's okay. It knows the signal. We should help it. It's okay. I'll let them decide if they want.
All right. So Aurora. You didn't know that or hear any of that knocking. So her sitting on the sarcophagus and saying this was a little bit out of left field.
Okay. Aurora, kind of up to this point, has sort of ignored Grimace and Mabon a little bit. So she's going to continue on that path and sort of ignore what Grimace is saying, and look at Doll, and she'll hold the stone upright like Doll wanted her to, and try and see, I mean, as they're moving the stone, is anything else changing in the room? And
so
if it's
you can't actually lift the stone out of the thing. You can basically just flip it. That's all. It's like it's almost like it's held there magnetically.
Right. Yeah, he said he just wanted to hold it upright, like when you're transitioning it over. So I didn't know if that.
All that means is that they're all standing up, so it doesn't actually do anything. And when you look around the room, there's just wind.
Can we take do the stones rotate in this circle? Like, can we rotate that stone into the position of the stone we used to orient it?
No, it's solid. It's a solid surface.
Okay, I'm going to take out the spike and start examining the spike and seeing if they're, just trying to see if is there something that we're missing here, and look at the symbols on the spike and compare them to the rest of the symbols, and just kind of see what we can do with that.
Right, Doll.
Doll is if the center stone is not being held up and down, Doll's gonna find something to wedge it so it's straight up and down.
Okay.
And then do that to the two coordinating symbols that are on the stone floor.
So when you have it lifted up like that, they all go up at the same time. They all like magnetically kind of shift in the same direction.
Yeah. So Doll wants to find a way to make the center one stand up so it just stays there as Doll goes off to the other ones and wedge something to make those two stand up too.
Yeah, they are all, when you wedge the first one, they're all wedged.
Oh, yeah, but so when Doll goes back to the center and unwedges it, the ones that are coordinated with the symbols just stay up.
Yep.
If that makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
And nothing happens.
Nothing happens?
No. So it brings us to Mabon.
Mabon's not doing anything. Again, he's staying back.
Okay. All right. So the you hear the knocking that's being sort of Grimace's having this knock conversation with the sarcophagus, which brings us back to Grimace.
Little friend in box, do you need help?
And there's like a single knock.
So Grimace is going to try to lift the top of the sarcophagus.
Okay. Physical check difficulty 4.
Okay, what D is that?
D8s.
D8s. Okay, out of 5.
Okay, so it's too heavy for you to do it alone. All right, so that brings us to Aurora.
Okay. Was there anything that Aurora saw on the spike that would coordinate with the symbols on the stones that they didn't notice before?
No, so you still recognize the same symbol of the one that you recognized before, and that's all. It kind of looks the same.
Okay. I'll go ahead and go over to where Grimace is and help him with the lid of the sarcophagus, just thinking that, maybe I need a mental break from looking at this puzzle. If I keep looking at it, it's just going to get, all congested in my mind. And maybe if I take a break and come back to it, I'll be able to figure it out.
Okay. So, Doll, it's your turn.
Doll's just still very curious about all the stones and stuff, and tries to turn the ones and the symbols individually. That probably doesn't work. But we'll try anything to get the two symbols that are coordinating to be a different color.
So you notice, and I'll give you a story value token for this. You notice that there's always one where the color is different to the others.
That would drive Doll crazy.
There's always one, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Doll's just gonna keep flipping it until it sees a pattern.
So it's just the one that you're flipping is either the one color or not, and the rest, so when you flip it, so the rest are not colored, and then when you flip it back and it's not colored, everything is not colored. It just flips over twice. Looks like the other ones flip over twice to become negative. So only one is ever positive at any time.
Interesting.
All right, Mabon.
I tell them nothing good is ever in a sarcophagus moving. And that's it.
Okay. Grimace.
What if it is a person or a thing that got trapped in here? Maybe somebody stuck it here. I don't know. Do you not think we should move it?
So if you attempt again, you get your original dice, +1 for extra effort, and +1 from Aurora, who's helping you.
Okay. I'm going to try to free it.
Okay.
So, let's see. Do you just add them together?
No, it's just any ones, if there's any one.
Oh, yeah, there's a 1.
Okay, yeah. So you heave the lid off the sarcophagus, and the sort of stale air kind of, they've been sucking the lid on. It escapes, and very rapidly this guy sits up, and his clothes are basically just almost falling apart, and his hair is long, and he's like, "Thank the gods! God, it's been a hell of a long time." Aurora.
I will go ahead. I'm actually very surprised since I didn't really hear the knocking, and I was very distracted paying attention to what Dal was still doing with the stones to see this guy in this sarcophagus. And I'll just kind of look at him though and say, "Are you with the Brotherhood?"
The Brotherhood? No. Well, sorry. It's been a very long time. I'm kind of getting my wits back about me.
Do you know anything about the stones?
Oh, these? Oh, yeah. That's the their transporty thing.
Oh, do you know how to use it?
Oh, yeah. We move on to Doll.
Doll's natural response on meeting strangers is go limp.
Okay. So you just flop in the middle of the circle.
Yep.
All right, Mabon.
So this guy looks perfectly healthy.
He's perfectly fine. He just has a very long beard, long hair, and his clothes are basically, if he moves too much, his clothes are probably going to just disintegrate.
Doesn't look like a corpse at all.
Nah, he looks as healthy as you are.
BMG. This day is too weird. I think Mabon's just staying back still.
Okay. All right. So Grimace.
How long have you been inside the sarcophagus? Here's a cookie. These will make you feel better.
How long? He takes a cookie and he starts nibbling on it. He goes, "Oh, what year is it?" Aurora.
Can you show us how to use the transport? You know how to use it, right?
Sure, sure, sure. And he kind of like heaves a leg over the edge of the sarcophagus, and his pants just to sort of disintegrate. And he's, oh, excuse me. And he kind of like covers his genitals, and he sort of, climbs out, and he goes, oh, well, you just got to, you got to move the stone to where you want to go, and then you just utter the words, and then poof, you're gone.
Oh, like what kind of words? Do you know the words?
So we move to Doll.
Doll is just trying to stay very still, but taking all the information because Doll's super curious, but doesn't trust this dude.
Maben's
slowly going down the stairs.
backwards.
Mm-hmm.
Grimace.
It's the year of the club nog. Everybody knows that. But okay, do we want to transport? Where do we want to go? Do we want to go where the pattern is on your skirt? And it points to your dress and sees if the person will look at the dress.
So he goes, oh yeah, no, that's going to be that one over there, and he points to where you already knew that symbol was. And then you just speak the usual brotherhood thing. What was it again? Doll. Sorry, Aurora.
Aurora will go ahead and go over to where the symbols are, and she's gonna, I don't remember what Doll was last doing with propping them up and changing colors, but she's gonna flip over the symbol of the one they want to go to. Okay. And look at the man in the sarcophagus and say, you gotta help us remember those words.
And he's like sort of scratching his head. What were they again? It wasn't Klaatu Verada Nikto. It wasn't blueberry ice cream. That brings us to Maben. Sorry, Doll.
Trying to remember the last few words that Dodden actually said to us.
It was just brotherhood, I think.
Huh.
Do a mental check, difficulty 1.
Not even close.
Yeah, so you don't know. All right.
There's only 2 options. How is it not even close?
Maven.
I gotta go get an old helmet.
Yeah, you basically are at the bottom of the stairs now, and you're watching the top of the stairs, and you kind of like grab the nearest helmet and plop it on your head.
Yeah.
Grimace.
What is your name? And the way to get in is that way, and you have to say some brotherhood words. Do we really want to go where this is? I mean, Dalton told us to go. Maybe we do. I don't know. But what is your name?
I'm Petrigan. Last time I was here, it was a little bit better shape than it is now.
I would continue with why were you in the sarcophagus, but Nettie Monster.
So Aurora.
Do you know how to pronounce the symbol that we're going to? Maybe that would help us, trigger the transportation, or just sort of start to jog your memory.
He's looking at the symbols, and he kind of notices the broken spike. He says, "Oh, where'd you get one of those?"
You see, we were just having this lovely day in town, and then there's this insect creature which showed up and drove.
Whoa, it's been that long? What year is it?
Well, I mean, I sort of, sometimes I get my dates mixed up. That's sort of a better question for somebody maybe a little bit younger, because sometimes it's very confusing. for me, like, and I'll just kind of look around to, Grimace and maybe even down to the doll. And I'm, sort of struggling to remember exactly what year it is and how old I really am and kind of what to say too, because I also don't want to totally freak him out. And I'll just kind of look around for one of them to maybe say something.
Okay. That brings us to Doll.
By this point, this guy from the sarcophagus hasn't freaked out and tried to kill Grimace, so Doll kind of sits up and starts to try to communicate, hey, it's the current year.
All right, so you're doing the sign towards this guy.
Yeah.
So he looks down at you and he smiles. And you go, oh, you've got a pet mimic. And then he signs back to you, and he says, "Oh, that sign. It's kind of like the old thieves' cant from from the ancient times." And then he's talking to you, and he goes, "How are you, little friend of mine?"
Good. I'm surprised you know how to sign like this.
Maven.
I hear him call the doll a pet mimic, and I'm blown away because I didn't think they made pet mimic dolls. And not knowing if he said the year, and I hear it through the echoes of this place, I feel like he's been kind of friendly or nice at least. So I yell the year as through a horn that I find next to this helmet. It's blah blah blah.
Did you say 1837?
Yes.
He's like, oh, gods, those bastards. I seriously have to find where they are, and, it's going to be one of those. That has been a very, very long time. So he's kind of like, sees as if pieces of his clothes are kind of falling off, and he's still sort of covering himself, and he's looking around for some newish sort of clothes, and he's sort of absent-mindedly go, so you met the Sicklith then, so the hive must be rising again. Aurora. That's right, Grimace.
I'm sorry, you broke up. The what?
The hive must be rising again.
The hive must be rising again?
Yep.
The insect hive? Because of why? I didn't hear the first part.
The hive must be right. So
that's what he said. Okay.
Because you've got one of these totems. The hive must be rising.
Gotcha. I'm sorry. Do you know how to stop the hive? We don't want them rising, do we not? Or are they friends? I mean, I think this is a love stick, but I'm not sure.
Plenty of civilizations have tried to stop the hive. It never works. I've seen it probably 15, 16 times. So we go to Aurora.
Okay. So I'm going to just continue on with my story and let him know, so the insect came down and they drove the spike into the ground, and then we went to go see one of, my friends, and he was the one who drew the symbol and directed us here. And so that sort of led us up to this point. And we're not really sure, how to use the transportation device. It seems like maybe we're supposed to go somewhere and maybe get somebody who's supposed to help us with this situation or this problem, or, something like that. And now you're here, so maybe you're supposed to help us use the transportation device so that we can overcome this thing that's, going to tear us down. Are you sure you don't remember what we need to say?
So he sort of thinks a little bit. He goes, well, this is a Sicklith territory marker. So, right back in the beginning when the first hive was invaded by the ancient civilizations, they negotiated a treaty whereby the Sicklith mark their territory before they destroy it. because they rise every few hundred years and then devour everything in its path. So really, this is just, if you've seen one of these, it's a get out of jail free card. So probably your old friend has basically said, you know, you need to notify the Brotherhood. I would, if they're still, are they still around?
Well, I mean, I don't know. This place is looking awfully dilapidated. So I'm not really sure that anybody's still here. I know he used to be a part of them, but I mean, that's all I know. So, no.
Okay. Dole?
Doll's gonna sign. I think I signed a contract. I matched the symbols, and the bug flew away.
Oh no, they just come and hand it to you as a warning. You know, you get. Well, how long did they say? Were they able to communicate with you?
Elf said 5 lights.
5 lights. You're fucked.
Yeah, I know.
That's like 5 days. How many days has it been?
1.
1. You got 4 days to move the hell out of town. But you'd want to get this to whoever, you know, some kind of authority, you know, just so they know. Because when the cyclic hive mind rises, you know, it just basically eats everything.
I translate for Aurora. Basically, okay. We're fucked. We should move out.
Mabin.
How have they stopped it in the past? It just eats and then goes back to sleep?
The hive is relatively benign, but when it awakes, it's comes out of its hibernative state, and essentially they send out these scouts that mark the territory as per their agreement, and then devour everything within their territory. And then over the hundreds of years, they remain dormant in order for everything to regrow and feed them again in a few hundred years. But they stick pretty much to themselves. Although I say themselves, it's really it, because they act as one. They're a single mind.
And I finished making my way back up the stairs to everybody.
Yeah, you kind of like your head's poking up at the top of the stairs.
So what happened in the past? The Brotherhood stopped them, and we cannot contact the Brotherhood. There's not a symbol or the circle in the thoughts will not make them. We might go to where they go. I don't know.
Well, you basically, if that guy told you to use this, then you just move that stone and say the words, and poof, you'll get to wherever you need to go. But that just gets the word out.
That it gets the word out, and we don't even know what the word is to get into the circle thing.
Well, if the Brotherhood still exists, and I don't know, I've been in a sarcophagus for years. It's I don't know. I don't have anywhere to go. Aurora.
Well, I mean, if it's going to come back and attack the town, shouldn't we go back to the village and warn them? And perhaps somebody else there knows of more people in the Brotherhood who could help us to use this device, and then everybody would be able to use it too. I mean, it's a transportation device, so couldn't we all then essentially escape?
Yes. If you can get everybody here.
Well, I mean, we got 4 more days. That seems pretty, we could that's doable. We got to get back to the town, though, and warn everybody.
Doll.
We would have to know the word first if this thing even works. Doll's just going to try to turn the symbol that we need and just sign Percy.
So say you're going to do what?
It's going to turn the symbol that we need to turn, and sign Percy, the name of the horse.
Okay.
Worth a try.
So you sign Percy, and the are you standing in the circle or outside the circle? Where are you standing?
Probably in the circle.
Okay. So Petrican looks and goes, Percy, and poof, you just disappear. Mabin. I'll give you a story value token, by the way.
So I see the signing of Percy. I go to the.
You see him signing, and you hear the guy going, Percy.
Okay, so I go to the circle and I say Percy.
So you're in the circle.
Yeah.
Okay. You disappear. So that brings us to Grimace.
After you say the word, how do you come back to the spot? If we all disappear, then there'll be no people to tell the town.
Well, then hopefully there's one on the other side.
Is there multiple portals like this? And then
I will tell you now, I'm not staying here.
You're going to say the word and disappear.
Oh, now we know the word, yes.
Aurora, do we disappear with them or do we go back to the town and try to get the people on here?
Aurora.
Well, I feel like we should go back to the town and, warn everybody and then allow everybody else to come back here. Right? If we have time.
I think it's a good idea. I love all the people in the town. They come to my restaurant. I make them happy and they feel good. We should go back to the town and tell them.
So this guy he's looking around and he's kind of like still looking for something to, wear. And he's kind of starts walking downstairs. He says, yeah, but I wouldn't take your time if you've only got 4 days. Grimace.
Do you know Man Jones? Do you think maybe he would help us persuade the town council and maybe they will listen to us and want to come here?
Yeah, well, I think we just go back and we let them know how to escape. And if they choose to use it, then that's fine. And if not, we come back here right away and leave ourselves.
I think it's a good idea. Dude, there is stuff down there. There's chainmail. I don't think it will fit right, but I don't know. Let's go down to the town. Actually, dude, mister, would you like to come with us? And you could maybe convince the town of this problem.
He's already trying on the tapestry to see if he can use it as like a toga or something.
It looks beautiful. There's also armor and chainmail.
So
I will help you decorate yourself if you'd like.
He says, "Oh no, you can go save your town. I'm not spending 1 extra minute in this place." And he starts going back upstairs again, and stands in the middle of the circle. Grimace. Sorry, it's Aurora. It's Aurora.
It's Aurora, yeah.
Well, what do you want to do, Grimace? I'll follow everybody else into the portal if we think that's the best thing to do. I feel kind of upset that they didn't really consult us before just leaving. They kind of abandoned us. But if there's somebody on the other side, maybe the people on the other side could help more than we would going back to the town. So maybe we should go through the portal. And
Grimace.
she'll start to follow Petrigan back into the room.
There's a game I used to play as a child. It's called Russian Bowl. Would you like to play? We can do that and see who wins. And if I win, we go back to the town. And if you win, we go to this portal.
Aurora.
I'm not so sure about games. And she sort of looks at Grimace sideways a little bit. Did Petrigan go through the portal?
He's standing there now and he's sort of examining the stones.
Okay. I'll go over there.
Is
And
there... All right. I want to ask Petrigan if there's another area that we can go to other than the one word that transported our friends.
So he's busy looking over the symbols and he flips one of the other stones. He says, no, you can go to any one of these places. The same word will get you there. And he just says, Percy, and disappears.
We'll have to flip that back. Grimace goes over to the stone and flips it back the way it was.
Okay.
But I don't know. Is this arranged exactly how the pattern of the dress was?
Yeah, you just gotta flip this one over here, and I'll flip it, and I'll stand in the middle of the circle, and I'll say Percy.
So you are in the circle and you're saying Percy?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so you disappear. So Grimace.
I guess there's only one. I win! Yay!
You're the last one alive!
Woo! Last man standing. I've done my job. All right, guys, great game.
So are you going to go through the portal or not?
Yeah, I guess I'll follow everybody to the doom
Okay.
and despair.
So one by one, you appear on the other side, and you're in this really ornate temple. And there's a lot of guys roaming around in dark robes, and people wearing immaculate black armor. And they are a bit surprised by these people who are not part of their group arriving through their transportation ring. So the first one through was Doll. And of course, you are now surrounded by about 20 or 30 of these people who are very interested by this wooden doll that's just appeared. And then moments later, this dwarf arrives. And so they all just draw their swords. And so what do you say, Maven?
First off, I'm wearing their helmet, I'm assuming.
Yes.
And I'm holding their battle axe. Whoa. We came to speak to the Brotherhood about the bug things. That's what I say.
The bugs? What bugs?
And I explained the spike thing they drove into the ground and the symbols that I'm assuming I still have. No, I did not have them. Somebody else had them.
I think Aurora's got them.
Yeah, I think she has them.
So a few moments pass. It's getting a bit tense, and then Aurora, poof, arrives. You've kind of been hauled out of the circle, and you're being interrogated. And Aurora arrives. And as she arrives from the shock of having gone through this portal, she drops the broken stake, and one of them picks it up. And it is a Sicklith marker. They must be rising again. And then Grimace arrives. And that's when they realize there's a demon invasion that's happening right now. And that's the end of the game.
Yay, I give them cookies.
Kill the demon.
Gonna invade your mouth with cookies.
Exactly.